I cannot figure out how to get this stupid thing down. It's driving me insane. Because my head is being chopped off and I don't like it at all. Hello, Debbie2 Scooter and Carolyn. Let's see where we are. Where are we? Okay. So where are we? Okay, sorry. All right, everybody. We're going to finish going over the lawsuit, which I'm going to hopefully have right over here somewhere. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm really live. Where is my lawsuit? Where is the lawsuit? It should be right over here. Lawsuit. No. No, not the lawsuit. I think that's not the lawsuit. Not the lawsuit. Not the lawsuit. Alrighty. Not the lawsuit, not the lawsuit. Where's the lawsuit? Where's the lawsuit? We were at like page 79 of the lawsuit. And that's crazy that... Where the heck is the lawsuit? It's not there. Give me a second, guys, because... Oh, I think I... No, that's not it. That's another one. That's something else. Why can't I? Might be back further then. It's okay. Hashtag don't worry. Hashtag don't worry. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to have to pull up a fresh copy. That's okay. I'll find my way. Okay. Hi, White Angel. Hi, everybody there. Hang on 1 second. I just don't know why You know what I think I did today? I think I closed down a bunch of windows and I didn't think about oh, and I've got another one. Okay, so let's just do this. Forget it, because I can't. This, my head is driving me crazy that I can't. That this stupid balloon is in the way. All right, let me just find. Put that up there because I can't stand to look at my head being cut off by a balloon. All right. And let me go over here. That I don't need. Shoot. I can't find my thing. I'm not even talking about that. I'm trying to. Okay, never mind. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. 1 second, just one tiny little second. Oh my goodness, forget it. Why didn't you ever find out if I bought that, if I sold that egg? All right, let me just do something because I need to just get a new copy of it, that's all. Okay. Oh, you know what? How silly of me. Oh, but I already, that's not good. Okay, never mind. I had taken it away from here because remember I was reading it in a separate, all right, let me just get this, okay? I'm so sorry. Oh, look at this. We've got more. Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds demand a gag order on Justin Baldoni. That's new today. Look at that. It says that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are hitting back at Lively's It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni after the actor's legal team released behind-the-scenes footage from the controversial film. In a letter to Judge Louis J. Lyman in the Southern District of New York on Tuesday, attorneys for the A-list couple accused Baldoni and his legal team of continuing their harassment and retaliatory media campaign. Hang on 1 second. Okay, so let me see. Where are we with that? And it says, harassing and retaliatory media campaign. against Lively with almost daily media statements or other releases to the press, according to the court documents. The filing comes after Baldoni's attorneys released behind-the-scenes footage on Tuesday of an intimate scene Baldoni and Lively performed in the romantic drama. In an emailed statement to USA Today on Tuesday, Lively's legal team blasted the footage release as a stunt by Baldoni's attorneys that reinforces misleading media narratives. Before Tuesday's letter, Lively and Reynolds' legal team sent a cease and desist letter to Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, requesting that he refrain from making defamatory and retaliatory statements relating to Ms. Lively. Around this time, a cease and desist was, a cease and desist was also sent to Baldoni and his business associates, asking them to halt all unlawful conduct towards the Lively Reynolds parties and their affiliates. Virtually every day, let's see what it says. Every day since, Mr. Friedman has given television interviews, appeared on podcasts, issued inflammatory written statements, and leaked information to the Hollywood press and tabloid media. Lively and Reynolds' attorneys said that on Tuesday. Those statements not only continue the campaign of retaliation that was the subject of Ms. Lively's first cease and desist, but they contain numerous new false statements about Ms. Lively and others. In response, Lively and Reynolds' attorneys are seeking an appropriate protective order to curb Friedman's non-litigation statements, as well as a hearing to address the appropriate conduct of counsel moving forward. Okay, so they have all kinds of legal drama going on, huh? So what happened was, it says, among the numerous media releases made by Friedman, Lively and Reynolds' legal team cite a video behind-the-scenes footage from It Ends With Us was released on Tuesday. It's a nearly 10-minute clip that shows the characters Ryle Kincaid and Lily Bloom, who's played by Blake Lively, slow dancing during a scene referenced in Lively's December complaint against Baldoni, which preceded the actress's federal lawsuit. As further evidence of an alleged harassment campaign, the couple's attorney also referenced Friedman's previous announcement to launch a website relating to Baldoni's federal lawsuit against Lively and Reynolds. The website will reportedly contain all correspondence as well as relevant videos that quash Lively's claims. As Ms. Lively's counsels have attempted repeatedly to caution Mr. Friedman, federal litigation must be conducted in court and according to the relevant rules of professional conduct, Lively and Reynolds' attorneys say. His conduct threatens to and will materially prejudice both the Lively case and the Wayfarer case by tainting the jury pool because his statements are deliberately aimed at undermining the character, credibility, and reputations of numerous relevant parties, and likewise includes information the lawyer knows or reasonably should know is likely to be inadmissible as evidence in a trial, thereby creating a substantial risk of prejudice not just for Ms. Lively, but for numerous other parties in the matters. Okay, so I am going to grab where is Justin, where is your 179 page? Okay. Is this it? I got it. Does anybody remember what page we were on? Let's see. I think we were on page, I think we were like, right, weren't we like 79 pages? Who, does White Angel remember? No, she wasn't here probably. All right, let me pull this over. Come on. Where is this page coming from? Oh, here you are. Okay, there we go. So sorry about that. And I believe we are watching for my plane. No, we didn't get to that. I know we didn't do that. We didn't go through those. Hey, thanks for your note. Nope, didn't go for that. Nope, didn't go to that. I think we were like, let's see. Hey, buddy, unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to be able to send anything until Thursday. I'm not quite sure how to handle it. I think we were here. The scripts, I mean. Yeah, we went through this, and I know I did that. Okay, so I think it was, hey, this is before. Meanwhile, on the day before the commencement of the second phase of filming, Lively casually reached out to Baldoni together with Heath and the film's producer, to meet in her room. That's when they, not in her room, in her home, and that's when they said they had never seen such a horrible thing, and there was all this yelling and everything, right? Yet now that Lively had unleashed Reynolds on Baldoni and Wayfarer, they felt powerless to oppose the couple. Remember? Yeah, we got there, right? And then the Directors Guild of America requires a 10-week editing period for, then she wanted to go there and edit with him. Yes, we got that. And he granted her access to the editing bay for 2 days. Notably, despite allegations that Baldoni made her feel uncomfortable, Lively insisted on working closely with him. Okay, and I think we were here, right? From Justin. Good morning, Blake. Redacted and I had a great chat the other day, and he let me know that you'd like to come into the edit before you leave for your film, and I think it's a great idea. I agree that we work really well together, and with all that you put into this film, I completely understand wanting to give notes and have input before you leave for your other movie. With that, I started my cut on Thursday, so tomorrow will be day 3. The movie is currently all over the place, and I need a few weeks to get it into some sort of shape to even present to you. What I would love to do is bring you in on the 18th and have us work together until you leave. Did I hear the first week of April? Then once you're in Italy, as things progress, you can jump in on any free days or even on days you have a long wait between scenes. I'm also happy to send you progress scenes, etc. with any big changes that are made. As we all know, things change all the time during a cut. For me, the editing process is the time to try things and throw it all against the wall to see what sticks. It's my favorite part of the process. So once you take off, we can just keep you in the loop and send you stuff to the extent you want to see it as we get closer to locking picture. Thanks, Jay. Good. I just want to make sure that I get on here with you so I can make sure that I'm live and that there's no issues, okay? And that if you need me, I'm here and around. Okay, now I'm back. And I just want to say hi to everybody that might be here. Okay, and I'm so sorry that took me so long. Sorry. The Captain Lee fan. Hi, Bucky. Ann. Hello, Debbie 2. Scooter. Hello, Cute Kitty Kitty. Hi, Slam RN. Hello, White Angel. How are you? Thank you for coming in. White Angel says, Scooter, don't you remember Carolyn first showed you that egg? You cracked a joke and you said you painted it for her. Did you find out who I sold it to? Who did I sell it to? Hi, Deidre. How are you? Hi, little lady. How are you? Okay. And I'm in top chat and I'm not in live chat, and that's not good. If I missed you, I'm sorry. It's because I was not in live chat. Anyway, and I'm really, really sorry that it took me so long to get this up here. Okay, so then she writes back, Blake writes back, "Hey, thank you for the note. I appreciate it. I'd love to be in the passenger seat with you as soon as possible. I don't need you to formally present anything. I understand you've just seen the first assembly and have a mountain ahead of you. I'll be invaluable to you in recall alone as you put together what you're looking for. I've also been rewatching all the dailies, tons of nuanced gems. The sooner we put our heads together, the better. Very excited to dive back into the work. Let me know, B." He writes back, "Hey Blake, I hear you, and I do know how helpful you have been and will continue to be. I do need some time to get sorted with my editors and wrap my head around the film itself. I will reach out to you at the end of the week to let you know the progress I have made so we can figure out the best time for you to start with me. Thank you." In February and March of 2024, Baldoni acceded to the request that Lively be let in to the editing process. Okay, editor number 1 says, "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're hanging in there. We're going to get through this. Damn it." Justin says, "Thanks for checking in. I've sat with it, and I think the best path forward spiritually and what's best for the movies is that I suck it up and let her in. I've sent a message requesting that it start on the 18th and that we just let her in until she leaves, and then her cuts and updates throughout the process. I'll let you guys know what she says. Thanks for being awesome, Dream Team." Editor 2 says, "We got you." Editor 1 says, "I think that sounds like a very good plan on all fronts." Hey guys, what are you doing? Come here. Stop. Why are you yelling? Side note, I offered for her to join on the 18th, and she replied she'd like to join now because she will be invaluable to me as she knows every take. I'm going to stick to the date and see how that goes. What comes next? The editor 1 says, "Oi." Editor 2 says, "Stick to it." Editor 1 says, "When you get a moment, can I please get an ADR line from you for the karaoke scene? And you don't do casual. I'll send you an audio reference." "Okay, let me put together some form of reel 5, says editor 1. "The last scene was only half finished, so I'll swap it in the last version temporarily, and hopefully Redacted is working on SC11 sound pass this morning." Justin says also, "I think a valuable thing to do next week is going to be to get both of your systems set up in a way that you'll be able to find all the takes very quickly based on whatever you are both comfortable with, because I know for a fact that is going to be something that Blake is going to end up doing. And the last time we can spend searching, and the less, I think he means he's got the wrong word there. We can spend time searching for takes, the better. It's going to be for the overall process." And that says kick in at some point. Justin says, "Let me know if you guys need anything, and I'm in LA and at my office until I preview." And then it says, "For Blake, should I say 9:30 to 3 each day? And that gives you guys 3 hours for extra notes and other things, or 10 to 3. That gives us wiggle room." Sorry, one of my dogs are being nuts tonight. They're all around me, and somebody is, sounds like they're behind my desk. Okay. And that gives us wiggle room and powwows before we meet her. Either way works for me. It would be good to have some time before and after. How's it playing? Later in March of 2024, Lively continued pushing for her demands, as what had been a 2-day collaboration extended into 10. And Lively sought to work alone in the editing bay without Baldoni. So that would have been full control. Okay? Though Baldoni incorporated 7 pages of her notes into his edit at the very start and consistently kept her involved in every subsequent edit, despite having absolutely no obligation to do so, Lively was not satisfied with merely collaborating with the director. She wanted to be the director and see her own creative vision for the film realized. I will tell you something. When I'm reading this, I'm seeing a lot of issues with Blake Lively in what I read in her complaint. And, you know, her complaint made Baldoni look in a certain way, pretty bad. And now what he's saying really is backing things up with she wants to be with him now. If he is such a guy that he is being abusive to her or harassing her in a sexual nature or something, she is like really pressing to be with him and to work with him. So that's not helping her case any, okay? That's not. And like I said, there is a reaction from Taylor Swift on this stuff. So, I mean, we're going to have to see how this plays out. But I'll tell you, just by reading, we haven't gotten halfway through yet. But what I'm reading, it's not, I mean, it's pretty bad there. Okay, all right. So hang on a moment now. Let's go and what do you guys think? Editor 1. Thank you for getting those all organized like that. Justin says, we should all hop when we can tomorrow before she joins. Whatever works for you guys. I'll let her know we tested. She's asked for all the cards and data as well. Editor 1. Oh, wow. I was wondering if you were going to. I think it was the right call. The Best Defense is a great movie. I know we talked about an 11 a.m. start for tomorrow with Blake, which I think would be a very good idea. I think it's important that we meet with Redacted beforehand in the morning so we can launch her working on music while we're working with Blake. Also, she's fresh eyes, so we can talk to her about things that came up from the screening. Okay. Editor number 1 says, good morning from Redacted. Friday, Blake started watching movie at 8:30 a.m. today on Pix. She did not watch it this weekend. Yeah, she just texted she was starting. Shall we meet in my room at 9? Better to meet on Redacted since she will have access to yours, just in case she comes in early. Editor 2. She doesn't have it yet, but happy to do that. Editor 1. What do we want to do about the falling in love montage? Now that I've gotten reel 3 off to music, I'm looking through reel 4 and I see that there are 2 cuts from the walk and talk first kiss scene in the love montage. The first one is obviously from that scene. The second one I think we can get away with. I just spoke to Redacted, who's been through all the footage, and he said there's just no more kisses from scenes that weren't already in the movie. I just did a version of just talking out that first wider walk and talk kiss seems to work well. Justin says, I think we have to wait on that until we solve the other Blake note of sex romance after Atlas. We may pull the onesie sex out or not. Meet in Redacted. Hey! Redacted Blake wants to know where you could be there next week. I can fly on Sunday or Monday, up to you guys. And would you prefer to be there or edit from home? I honestly don't have a preference. Editor 1, and so it begins. Justin says, we could push for you to stay home. It's up to you. Editor 2 says, both have pros and cons. I want Blake to feel like she's getting what she wants so we can move on from this need of hers. For the record, she's been getting what she wants this entire movie, Baldoni said. Hi, Julianne. Lively is full of it, in your opinion? It sounds like it from here. You know, Julian, I was kind of... Come here, guys. I was kind of on her side when I read the first thing, but now, reading this so far, I have a totally different opinion. So, I don't know. And maybe that's why they're screaming now for a gag order and stuff. I don't know. Okay. As the editors noted, Baldoni bent over backwards for Lively for months on end. Editor number 2 says, I understand. Baldoni says, and she's getting to edit, which is what she wants. Let's remember that, LOL. That seems strange to me. Because, let's think. She's an actress. How many actresses go with the director and the editors to edit the film? Probably not too many. So she does have some big demands. And they are they are accommodating her. Yes, and yet, true. Editor number 2 says, I don't want to give her any opportunity to say, well, because Redacted was in LA, we could only work certain hours. So I need more time, and I didn't really get what I needed, or whatever it may be. Justin says, point is, if you feel it's best and you want to go there, no problem at all. And also, if you would like to stay home, that's something that we can say. I just want you to do what's best for you. Do I like horror movies? No. As a kid, yeah. As a teenager, yes, but not now. Point is, if you feel it's best, you want to go there, no problem. And also, if you'd like to stay home, isn't that the same thing? They put that in again. That's a good point. Editor 2 says, I appreciate your protection and thought. I'm truly game for going if that's what she prefers. If she doesn't care, then save the money and have me work from home. Editor number 1, you're definitely nicer than I am. I would want to stay here to make it less convenient for her since she's going to be on a completely different time zone. Justin has bent over backwards for her for months on end. I don't think you should have to do that too either. Okay. Either way, you should do what's best for you, not her. Editor number 2. If I were Texas or some random place, I'd be much more resistant. I'm a New Yorker. Some of my best friends live there, so I love going to the city. Both Redacted are leaving town on trips this week, and so, well, it's not too complicated week for us. Justin says, okay, all good. I'm sensing a desire to go and also have some you time, which is also great. Win-win. He says, I'll let them know. I think the game is to ask for virtual and then give in and send you. As a practice, we can just keep giving her everything on exactly her terms. Editor 2 says, like I said, happy to go. Also, totally fine to stay. I can find the pros either. Appreciate you. You too, sir. Sir sounded much more formal than I intended. All good, ma'am. Editor 2. Make her stay in Italy. Tell her I demand to edit in Italy. So are we keeping the thrust? I'll drink to that, of course. I was just planning on drinking anyways. That's going to end up being a Blake call, honestly. If you can get her to keep it in, and it's in the movie when I get back, it can stay. She has approval of that scene. Even for young Lily, I was just thinking the same thing. When she claimed she was unsafe,
She redid the nudity rider to get approval of Young Lily too. Got it. Happy Sunday. Waiting for my plane. Blake is watching the cut tonight. And we'll start around noon tomorrow. I'll check it out with you guys when we wrap up this evening. Sounds good, and safe travels. I really think something good might come out of this. So far, every time this movie came up against adversity, it somehow worked out to make the movie even better. Why stop now? Justin says, it's going to be great, and you're the perfect person for the job. Safe travels. When she claimed... Okay, we got that. Because she was a part of writing that sex scene and did want a character depicting her to have sex in high school, honestly, it's all about control so she could get to where she will be next week. All good. Popping in, we just finished up for the day, full day. Great, should we all chat? Yes, but let me get out of the building, then I can call. That was my thinking exactly. Jamie would like to join. Thank you again. So sorry you have to be in this position, yet no one better suited. Grateful for you. Okay, then we've got this. Finally, in April and May of 2024, Lively's extortionate threats coerced Sony to allow her to create her own cut of the film, a right that is exclusively reserved for directors, at Wayfarer and Sony's expense. And despite Baldoni and Wayfarer's rightful protests, Sony's reasons for acquiescing to these beyond unreasonable demands were clear. Sony told Wayfarer in no uncertain terms that Lively refused to promote the film unless her demands were met. Wayfarer, feeling increasingly cornered into agreeing to Lively's demands, attempted at least to require that Lively finally sign her engagement contract if her demands were to be met. Even this basic ask was refused, and Sony urged Wayfarer to give in.
Isn't that crazy, right? Hi, easily distracted. How are you? Okay, let's go here. Now, this one says, Jamie, I have redacted on here too. Redacted has gotten Blake to approve the trailer we went with. With our narration, the chair kick, the bruise, etc., and Blake is calling Taylor to approve the song. She, of course, just reached out saying she's asking for time with Redacted, her editor. We know it was conditional on signing contract, but asking if you will consider so Redacted can release the trailer and Blake does not change her mind, recalling Taylor Swift. I'm available to talk on the phone. Call me if you're free. You guys don't want to play ball. You are going to delay and greatly hurt the movie. Good luck. That is only if you want to make this date. We are going to need to push finish director cut, and we can have multiple previews down the road. Baldoni and the film's original editors were not even allowed to see Lively's cut, even if just to see how much of their work had been replaced. Then there's a preview. This is great. I hope Blake got a copy. Justin says, no, I don't think so. Wouldn't matter anyway. She has her mind made up. We focus on what's best for the film. It will all work out. Well, we're out in the world. Just curious if you guys have peeked at her cut and if anything has changed. Editor 2 says, I have just been told that we are not permitted to look. Ha ha. Wow. When did that happen? Editor 1, as per Sony. Editor 2, this evening, though through Justin Baldoni, says, wow, okay then. The editors and director isn't allowed to look at an actress's cut? Got it. Here we go. We will keep on taking the high road. That high road, right? Unbelievable. Let's see. So Julianne says, yes, living in Ventura County. She is trying to take advantage of the niceness of the win-win positive attitude of the Baldoni team. I've been on committees where everyone is great, Julianne says, and then there is that one Blake Lively who wastes so much time, original goal gets delayed, and results are diluted. Yeah, I hear you, Julianne. Still believing that in a sane and just world, despite Lively's continued extortion, an actress would never be allowed to usurp her legal right as a director to create and release his cut of the film. He assumed that Lively's edits would simply supplement his work. Thus, Baldoni continued refining his director's cut, but as Lively threatened to refuse to promote the film or approve any related marketing material, such as trailers, posters, and social media posts, a doomsday scenario for this major motion picture Wayfarer and Baldoni were extorted into. Acquiescence to more and more demands. This included co-funding, together with Sony, a friends and family screening of her version of the film, which they had not approved or even seen entirely at Lively's insistence. Ultimately, Lively replaced the film's editors with her own choice, an editor often used by Reynolds, and the film's editors had to be let go. She also replaced the film's award-winning composer with composers from Reynolds' recent project, even though the film's composer had already finished the score with an orchestra, which is costly. Sony supported Lively's demands and even enforced her dictate that the film's director and editors not be permitted even to view her cut. Wayfarer and Sony found themselves in an unprecedented and uncomfortable predicament of having two competing versions of the film, one made by the film's actual director and one made by a person with no contractual or creative right to even approach the editing bay, let alone make her own cut. But in light of Lively's threat to withhold promotion of the film, as well as her thinly veiled threat to end Baldoni's career with a slew of false allegations, the studio reluctantly agreed to do an official audience test of both versions, again at Wayfarer and Sony's expense. This decision was made on the understanding that Lively had agreed with Sony that if the Baldoni director's cut tested higher, she would drop the matter and fully cooperate so that Baldoni could finish the film without further interference. Tellingly, in a side-by-side comparison of audience tests, Baldoni's cut scored significantly higher with key audience demographics. Okay. Thank you. Spoke to Redacted this morning, gave her the latest, spoke to Redacted this morning, and she's putting in a request to release Blake's cut officially to us. Just getting on the road here in Redacted home in a couple of hours. Get some rest, damn it. FaceTime. Call ended. Then they have a stats, okay? And it says, in our key demo, over 20% higher in the excellent rating and 15% higher in the definite recommends. That says it all. And then Justin Baldoni says, one would think I have info at 4. And then Editor Chu says, here is my info. She lost. Can we now move forward? Thank you. Editor 1 says, the only group she went up with in the excellent category was men. And they are absolutely not our audience. And that's only because she focused more of the movie on herself. And men like to look at Blake Lively. Men are such pigs. Editor 2 said, I feel like the up in men and women over 35 is something to look at, but it's so close that it could be just that particular audience and or the trailer factor. Or maybe there is something there to consider. Doesn't mean her, ends there. Not surprisingly, Lively reneged on her promise and insisted that her version be released to the public instead of Baldoni's cut as director, even claiming that the book's author, Colleen Hoover, would refuse to promote the film as well if Lively's version was not chosen.
Sony called to tell Wayfarer that neither Lively nor any of the cast would promote the film unless Lively's cut was used. Baldoni was forced to choose between killing the film and his own career by insisting on his own creative vision and rights, or putting out a version of the film that Baldoni knew still be so important to domestic violence survivors, even if it differed greatly from what it could have been. Baldoni reluctantly chose the latter and stood down, allowing Lively's version of the film to be released and promoted. Baldoni was essentially forced to fire himself as director and allow Lively to finish his film, knowing it was the only chance he could make to serve the greater good. And now let's see. Paris Phone says, Hi, Paris Phone. Where's UHP? UHP, I miss you. Where are you? Baldoni doesn't deserve this. This sounds like she's being a brat. Like a real spoiled brat. Okay. 2 days later, Baldoni was hospitalized with a serious spine infection, eventually with the key demographic being the focus. Sony and Screen Engine, the audience testing company, convinced Lively to put back as much of Baldoni's edit as they possibly could. None of this was officially communicated to Baldoni, but whispers reached him as part of his cut made it back to the final release. Baldoni made sure to thank and apologize to his editors, whom Lively had caused to be let go. Justin says, I'm so sorry. I love and adore you both and will fight for you and your recognition and sing your praises to the end. This will all work out. It's painful, but it will be okay. And we can rest knowing that we have created a beautiful work of art together, and yet, I'm so sorry. And there he is in the hospital. I guess that's his wife. Hope ADR went well, being admitted for 3 days for a potential infection. So now you have a real reason to why I'm not doing ADR. I love and adore you both. Thanks for standing by me through all this. You guys are amazing. Editor number 1 says, holy cow, feel better. We didn't want to bug you during all this, but our secret sauce has let us know that the new version they are previewing tomorrow has a bunch of our version put back in. We just have to keep it quiet because we want to keep our channel open, our back channel open. Feel better, get well soon, we love you, and all of this craziness. Heath and Health and Movie is going to work out, damn it. Appreciate you both so much. By June of 2024, Lively was dictating much of the marketing for the film she had stolen from Baldoni and Wayfarer. Deirdre says it's a shame that an inspiring movie having to do with domestic abuse has a cloud like this hanging over it, Julianne Gonzalez. And Julianne says, living in Ventura County, Lively should be ashamed. Justin says, infection in my spine, pretty serious, great doctors, and caught it early. Redacted had a feeling, my body is done, too much stress. Will be in the hospital probably until Tuesday now. The IV antibiotics via a PICC line for 6 weeks, which means I can't travel. Wow. 6 weeks of IV antibiotics in a PICC line? Yikes. Reed Garfield, so happy he liked it. Editor 1 says, damn, then just take care of yourself. If Blake is so determined to handle the marketing of the movie, then just let her. Perfect time to look out for number 1. Lively shamelessly removed Baldoni, the film's co-star, director, and executive producer who had championed the film for 5 years and whose company had co-funded the entire project out of all posters, trailers, and other promotional materials. She continued to refuse to promote the film otherwise. Wow. That's not nice. Wayfarer. Hey, Jamie. We had a very successful weekend at Book Bonanza, and the fans loved the book displayed at the event. We would like to release this art as our second teaser poster for domestic distribution. Since it has already been released internationally in many markets, it only makes sense to use it domestically as well. We'd love to start printing tomorrow to get it into theaters. However, the version does not have Justin Baldoni's a film by credit, so we would need to waive that. Please let me know if this is approved. Over Sony's objection, Lively insisted on screening her cut at Book Bonanza, Colleen Hoover's annual convention hosting authors and fans from all around the world, an event Baldoni had been long excited to attend, but Sony made it known to Wayfarer that, per Lively, Baldoni could not attend. Notwithstanding the obvious promotional and PR risks, Lively appeared on a panel alongside Hoover and other cast members, icing out Baldoni for this critical event for his own film. He was not even allowed to review the final cut before it was shown to the world. Periphone said, I will never believe Justin is a predator. Periphone said, she hijacked this movie. She gaslighted him too. She's so messy. She sounds like it. And I know I thought something else when I first read it. Hi, Jamie. Just filled me in about book on. Hold on a minute. I have something in my eye. I know this is devastating and such a kick in the gut. It's petty and childish at this point. I'm just making sure you're okay. We will get through this. Eye on the prize. Her attending BookCon is a win-win for the film ultimately, and if she wants to drag her arse to Texas, then let her. You can be home with your family, which is important. Justin says, she's kicked me out officially from the film now. She's finishing it all. I can't be involved. Music, sound, VFX, everything. I'll make it through somehow. Just need to feel it all. Wow. That's crazy. Paris Phone says, the gag order is enough for me to know she's a dirty liar. Yeah, that. Hello, Nora Woods, my love. How are you? Hello, Carolyn. Okay, let's see what this is now. Editor 1 says, looks fun. By the way, picture was supposed to get looked at this week. Did it happen? Just curious what version is going out in the world with all of our names on it. Justin says, I'll watch soon. No idea regarding the picture. Evidently, they are all in Book Bonanza. Hard. Editor says, oh boy. Justin says, but second test didn't go any better. Our 35 went down and understayed some. I guess Sony asked for more changes to get it closer to our cut, but I haven't watched. They are showing it at Book Bonanza. The whole movie? The whole movie? Yep, hers. Editor 1. Wow. Justin says, was supposed to be ours, and then I was uninvited. Whole thing is pretty cruel and intense. Editor 1 says, uneffing believable. Ugh, sorry, Justin. Justin says, I love you both. Editor 1 gives a bunch of hearts. Editor 2 gives hearts. Editor 1 says, I just hope you love for at least, no. I just hope you love for at least stomach the cut that is coming, that is going out into the world. Haven't seen it. Can't yet, he said. By July of 2024, Baldoni was completely locked out of the film's final cut. By virtue of his role at Wayfarer, he was permitted to give notes as a studio. This only added insult to the injury because he could not have been giving notes. He should have been editing the film. Despite his personal feelings, he redirected his thoughts to focus on the one positive. The film, years in the making, was very close to being seen by the whole world, even if it was no longer his film. He prayed for the possibility that the film could still make an impact he intended when he first reached out to Colleen Hoover in 2019. And this is to Dream Team. Justin, just wanted to check in. Are you back to 100%? Any updates on our little movie? Just hoping all is good with everyone and everything. Sorry, redacted, missed this. Didn't mean to not respond. Really been distancing myself in the movie as best as I can for my sanity. Lots of great internal work, finding real gratitude. Been some more hard things over the last few weeks that would blow your mind. We'll all catch up soon. Today I have to give notes on the final mix. I have not seen the locked cut of the film. Evidently it's been worked on more and she's been mixing. I'm getting to give notes as a studio today, not a director. Very hard, but I'm okay. Really doing a lot of work to detach. We made a beautiful baby together. The baby might not grow up tone to be exactly what we thought, but it's still beautiful. That's what I'm holding on to. Very proud of us. Editor 1 says, wow, I can't say I'm shocked because I was hoping that you were going to be able to not let this beat you down. And it sounds like you have achieved that. And yes, the movie we handed her was so good that even if it's been screwed with, the base work will still shine through. The last I heard was that she was putting back a fair amount of our version, just not sure what that entailed or to what extent. I guess you'll find out today. Hang in there, and we'll all catch up when the wounds are not quite as fresh. Sending love to you both. Perry's phone says, I'm actually really disgusted by her and her friends, her hubs. They're the bully pool. Justin says, if you think about it, we didn't even finish our director's cut because she intervened. So ideally, at some point, we can take a week and all just do it together for ourselves. But that opens up a can of worms. So we will need to let this play out for a while before we pull that card and your door will be knocked on. The amount of women who feel seen, that is reaching people all around the world, that men are remembering their own traumas and having conversations with their partners. That's why we did this, and it worked. Still the dream team. Editor 2 says incredible. That's the best news. Lively was still not satisfied. She continued to extort Wayfarer, Baldoni, and even Sony, threatening to abandon her contractual obligation to promote the film or approve marketing materials if she wasn't awarded a producer credit. And though Wayfarer had refused long ago to accede to this request when it was made during initial negotiations, Wayfarer now had its back against the wall and again had to concede. This still wasn't enough. Lively later sought the coveted PGA mark on her producer credit, a certified designation licensed by the Producers Guild of America, PGA, to identify producers who have performed the majority of the producing work of a motion picture. Paris Phone said the movie was awful. There were some parts in it that were weird. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. Neither Baldoni nor Wayfarer believed that Lively fulfilled the requisite criteria to earn this mark, but that didn't matter to Lively. Lively demanded again with extortionate threats that Baldoni, Heath, and other producers and department heads send letters to PGA in support of her certification for the PGA mark. Despite unanimous recognition of the absurdity and the unmistakable extortionate threats, Sony and other parties, despite being adamant not to support Lively's demand for the unentitled mark, ultimately acquiesced and submitted letters of support. However, Wayfarer and Baldoni firmly resisted because Lively did not perform the duties of a producer and therefore did not merit the PGA mark, a distinction highly valued and taken seriously within the industry. Wayfarer and Baldoni refused to devalue the contributions of actual producers on the film and elsewhere who merited the mark and were unwilling to misrepresent Lively's contributions to the film. Having been forced in the face of extortionate threats to concede to Lively's every demand to thus far, they believed it would be dishonest, unethical, and unjust to producers who rightfully earned the mark to falsely represent to the PGA that Lively had fulfilled the requisite producing responsibilities, asking that they lie on her behalf was the final straw, or so they thought. In response, Lively instructed Sony to tell Wayfarer and Baldoni that any goodwill left between us is done. Eventually, in the face of persistent threats and extortion, Wayfarer and Baldoni were left with little choice but to draft and sign a letter of support on Lively's behalf, but not before he sent an email to Wayfarer's attorneys documenting that he and Baldoni were signing the letter under duress. Private and confidential PGA letter. Jamie Heath. Hi everyone, I'm writing to you regarding a letter that I wrote on behalf of Justin and myself addressed to the Producers Guild. As you know, we received a request to write a recommendation on behalf of Blake and for her to receive a PGA mark. This was a request that we feel was unreasonable and cold-hearted. Essentially, the movie had been taken unjustly from Justin as the director and essentially from Wayfarer's control due to the extortion of Blake. Without going into all of the details of the events that have transpired over the months, Justin and I ended up agreeing to write the letter due to feeling trapped. She continues to hold a threat over our heads, and every time we try and hold a line, she uses the threat, either directly or indirectly, to get us to fold. Make no mistake, I am not suggesting that we were literally forced to acquiesce. But given the high profile of the movie, the partnership with Sony, the amount of money invested, and the need to complete the movie, we have written the letter on her behalf, omitting the truth of how and why she was able to contribute in the ways we liked. There is nothing to do with this. There is nothing to do with this letter now. It only serves as a way to memorialize why the letter was sent in the first place, if we ever need to explain it. Thank you, Jamie, I'm sorry. Okay. And here's the letter. Dear members of the Producers Guild of America, we hope this letter finds you well. We are ready to inform you of the significant role and contributions that Blake Lively has played in the making of the film It Ends With Us. Based on the best-selling novel by Colleen Hoover, the film has meant a great deal both personally and to our company, Wayfarer Studios, as we optioned this property nearly 5 years ago. As such, we've been directly involved in overseeing every step of development, from adapting the book to the big screen to bringing on our co-financier distributor, Sony, and of course, casting our lead. From the time Blake was brought on, she has been instrumental voice in many different aspects in making the film. Her contributions have been impactful as she was consulted with many of the casting options. She helped to refine the script. She redesigned her own wardrobe as well as gave notes on others. She contributed to the production design and set direction and had an influence on how many of the scenes were shot. Blake has been very involved in this post process as well. She has had an active role in the edit, the sound mix, and has made decisions on the music selections and score. She also continues to find creative ways to promote the film so that it can achieve its greatest success. Since contractually she began the movie with an LP credit, our earlier submission to the PGA did not include her as a named producer. But we both feel her contributions have warranted the revised credit and consideration for the PGA mark on behalf of Wayfarer Studios, Justin Baldoni, and ends with us and Jamie Heath. As the premiere of the film approached, Lively made good on her promise and instructed Sony that she and the cast would not participate in any marketing or promotion of the film alongside Baldoni. In spite of Baldoni and Wayfarer's acquiescence to all of her demands, she made certain that Baldoni was removed from all artwork for the film, posters included, and she stripped him of his A Film By credit. Lively and Reynolds also unfollowed him on social media, as did the author of the book, someone with whom Baldoni had maintained a 5-year personal relationship and for whom Baldoni created this opportunity. The other cast members also unfollowed Baldoni, creating the false impression that Baldoni had done something wrong. On information and belief, Lively induced the other cast members to shun Baldoni in an early attempt to give fans the impression that Baldoni had committed an egregious sin, something so egregious that no one wanted to even take photos with him or have him around. Lively was leaving what she had earlier referred to as crumbs, a social media strategy she had learned from a close celebrity friend to give fans just enough to allow them to come to their own conclusions, thereby launching an army of detectives that, on information and belief, Lively hoped would turn against Baldoni. The unfollowing of Baldoni by cast members and even the author of the book, who he had a long-standing relationship with, was done without warning or any communication from them, in stark contrast to the warm praise and appreciation cast members had until that point always showered on him. For example, Isabella Ferrer cast as young Lily exchanged grateful texts with Baldoni during and after her filming stint, which included a number of scenes involving intimacy. I guess this is then. Justin said, "You did awesome today. So happy to be working with you." Isabella said, "Thank you so much. I'm so excited. Thank you for being a great director and being so wonderful to work with. Let me know whenever you need me for anything." Justin says, "So kind. More to come. You're going to kill it." She says, "Loved. So kind. More to come. You're going to kill it." And then she says, "Hey, just got my film developed from when we were shooting. Here's this sweet pic. I also have to say thank you so much for an incredible experience in my first film. I still can't shake the feeling of it because it truly was life-changing for me. You are such a wonderful, smart, and sincere director, and you created such a comfortable, safe space for me to feel like I could fully step into this role. I couldn't have asked for a more welcoming environment. It will stay with me the rest of my life. See you soon, whether in the fall or later, and I hope you're doing well." And then he says, "Isabella, wow, what a kind message." And then he says, "You're such a joy and pleasure to work with. Your openness, your raw talent, your kindness, and your excitement made me fall in love with directing again. I'm so excited for your career and for everyone to see you in this film. You have a big career in front of you. Looking forward to seeing you again in September, even if we don't need you to work. Come visit." Telling Ferrer, who worked with Baldoni when Lively was not on the set, Ferrer, who worked with Baldoni when Lively was not on the set, it was not until Ferrer spent substantial time with Lively during film promotions that Ferrer felt compelled to shun Baldoni in repudiation of her warm words. It also became clear that Lively was laying the groundwork to explain away her theft of the film and exile of Baldoni. Presumably, she was convinced that her shocking conduct would be frowned upon if it became widely known. Baldoni had no intention of ever making this information public. In fact, as co-star of the film, both he and his studio, who co-financed the film, had spent millions of dollars, had every reason to want the film to succeed, and a suggestion otherwise is illogical. Baldoni promoted the film as originally intended,
gave Lively full credit and praise, and had done everything in his power at every painful turn of making this film with Lively to ensure the film succeeded. He wanted to move on. Lively, however, would not let it go. Baldoni later received word that during the premiere of his movie Deadpool and Wolverine, Reynolds approached Baldoni's agency, namely an executive at WME, and expressed his deep disdain for Baldoni, suggesting the agency was working with a sexual predator, a phrase that uncoincidentally later appeared in the press, and at a later date demanded that the agent drop Baldoni, his wielding of power and influence becoming undeniable. Well, Baldoni and Wayfarer grew increasingly fearful of what Lively and Reynolds were capable of, as their actions seemed aimed at destroying Baldoni's career and personal life. This pivotal moment terrified Baldoni and ultimately caused him to seek help anywhere he could to protect his reputation, his partners, and his wife and children and family from false accusations that could ruin their lives. Despite desperate, terrified, and in this position for the first time, he sought expert guidance and was advised to engage crisis PR to be ready in case Reynolds and Lively decided to unleash their wrath on them. As is customary, a proposal was prepared for him with available measures and quotes of what each suggested measure would cost. The proposal, wrongfully obtained from the very public relations company and that once represented Baldoni, with whom he had recently severed ties, was later used by Lively to knowingly and falsely assert that Baldoni had agreed to the most aggressive option in the proposal. Lively falsely alleges that Baldoni set out on a smear campaign to destroy Lively despite the thousands of documents she alleges to have that would prove otherwise. Notwithstanding, Lively, her team, and the Times worked in concert to cherry-pick, deliberately misconstrue, splice, and alter private communications to manufacture a self-serving and factually baseless narrative. Okay, so here we have stuff here. Is Blake Lively's set to be canceled? And this is canceled. Something's going nuts. Damn, this is unfair because it's not the everything now looks like it's me. Maybe not to you. Here it says, we can't write it down to him. We can't write it. We can't write, we will destroy him. We will have to go to this. We will do this. We will do that. We will do this. Of course not. But I told him that's the point of talking through. He has to look at it as information. Document for us to be armed with. That's it. Imagine if a document saying all those things he wants ends up in the wrong hands. The work is not the document. The work is the effing crisis. If it's any consolation, he's like this with everyone. Overthink, stresses, high anxiety. He just needs to be educated how this process works. You know we can bury anyone, but I can't write that to him. I'll be very tough. Okay, and a few days later, on August 5th, Mr. Baldoni's set the narrative for the social media campaign, sending Miss Abel a screenshot of a thread on X that accused another female celebrity of bullying women. Mr. Baldoni asked, "This is what we would need." Miss Abel responded that she had just spoke to Melissa about this and what we discussed last night for social and digital. Miss Abel added focus on Reddit, TikTok, Instagram with reassurance that Ms. Lively would be destroyed
and buried. Wayfarer and Mr. Baldoni directed Ms. Nathan and her team to actively engage in retaliatory social manipulation campaign. Yes, I literally just spoke to Melissa. Okay, she says that, and then excluded something celebrity kind. She wants to interview me. Want to have her email me. She is emailing. I said I would make it happen. The retaliation campaign relied on more than just publicists or crisis managers spinning stories. They also retained subcontractors, including a Texas-based contractor named Jed Wallace, who weaponized a digital army around the country from New York to Los Angeles to create, seed, and promote content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat features. The Baldoni Wayfarer team would then feed pieces of the manufactured content to unwitting reporters, making content go viral in order to influence public opinion and thereby cause an organic pile-on. To safeguard against the risk of Miss Lively ever revealing the truth about Mr. Baldoni, the Baldoni Wayfarer team created, planted, amplified, and boasted content designed to eviscerate Ms. Lively's credibility. They engaged in the same techniques to bolster Mr. Baldoni's credibility and suppress any negative content about him. On August 10th, the day after the release of the film, Mr. Nathan's team reported that they had started to see a shift on social due largely to Jed and the team's efforts to shift the narrative against Ms. Lively. 17 in Virginia. Okay, and then let's see what this says over here. Hi team, so far extremely limited pickup on the Daily Mailer page 6. We'll continue to keep an eye out and send pieces as needed, but so far it's been steady coverage on pure speculation. We've also started to see a shift due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative towards shining a spotlight on Blake and Ryan. Again, we'll continue to send links and screenshots, but wanted to send an update in the meantime. Thanks, Katie. We are seeing the same thing. And then, thanks, Katie. I'd like to have a quick Zoom today. If we can arrange without Justin, is it possible for all? I can join. Just running around, so might not be on camera, but just let me know when. Happy to jump on too. Likely off camera. No one needs to see this today. Would 6 p.m. call work? I could also circulate a dial in if that's easier for us via a Zoom. Should be fine on my end. On August 10th, the day after the release of the film, Ms. Nathan's team reported that they had started to see a shift on social media due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative against Ms. Lively. That's why I was worried about LAT. No requests, though. I think people are bored. The majority of socials are so pro-Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them. LOL. Oh, I agree. I'm just anxious per usual. LAT reached out to Justin's old assistant. You're okay. It's been too much press, too chaotic. I told you, People Magazine messaged me that they messaged me again to see that they're getting radio silence on everything. That was the request he sent through. Nothing to me. And then Roger Friedman from Showbiz 411 called me, but I'm leaving. LOL, Roger. Mr. Nathan then bragged to Miss Abel that Mr. Baldoni doesn't realize how lucky he is right now, by which they're referring to their successful efforts to shut down stories that would have revealed how Mr. Baldoni's behavior, including sexual connotations on set, had made cast and crew beyond Ms. Lively uncomfortable. Mr. Nathan then bragged to Ms. Abel and Mr. Baldoni doesn't know how lucky he is right now, by which they're referring to their successful efforts to shut down stories that would have revealed Mr. Baldoni's behavior, including sexual connotations, as he made cast and crew beyond Miss Lively uncomfortable. LOL Roger, yeah, Jillian reached out. Carolyn from ET, who just annoys me, and that Katie said limited pickup, but I've honestly not seen any of those two pieces. Just keeping on giving nothing, not one thing from those pieces. I mean, that was just a lot of work. Just talking everyone off the effing ledge for these two pieces. Literally, I feel like I've hit by a truck. And then again, after the weekend, people are going to move completely past it. Boring now. Nothing came out for anyone. OMG, yes, you will die. He doesn't even realize how lucky he is right now. We need to press on just how effing lucky. The whispering in the ear, the sexual connotations, like other members feeling uncomfortable watching it. I mean, there is just so much. Doesn't matter. It's not true. I know. I don't think they get that. They shrink the truth. They think the truth wins. No, it doesn't. And I'm like, we are dealing with a psychopath who literally called you a sexual predator. Let's all be happy with difficult. Ms. Nathan then bragged to Ms. Abel that Mr. Baldoni doesn't realize how lucky he is right now. Okay, we already got that like 15 times. Did they put that in here again? I have it on text message, by the way. Unbelievable. Let's be really happy with difficult. And he told him we took out misogynistic. Leslie can't possibly believe that. Let's give it a day to calm and then call Jamie together tomorrow, and we can explain to him a few things together. And socials are really, really ramping up. In his favor, she must be furious. It actually said, because it just shows you have people really want something. I don't know what I was saying. Okay. Meanwhile, Lively systematically excluded Baldoni from all marketing and promotional efforts with her and the cast for the film. He was not invited to any cast promotional events, cast screenings, premieres, photo shoots, or other cast campaigns. Baldoni was marginalized from the marketing process, then the purported marketing plan allegedly created by Sony, which was later referenced by Lively's CRD complaint as agreed to by all and attached as an exhibit as fact, even though it was merely talking points and not a binding contract, was never the plan Baldoni agreed to. It ends with us. Logline. It ends with us. The first Colleen Hoover novel adapted for the big screen tells the compelling story of Lily Bloom, Blake Lively, a woman who overcomes a traumatic childhood to embark on a new life in Boston and chase a lifelong dream of opening her own business. A chance meeting with a charming neurosurgeon, Riley Kincaid, Justin Baldoni, sparks an intense connection. But as the two fall deeply in love, Lily begins to see sides of Riley that remind her of her parents' relationship when Lily's first love, Atlas Corrigan, Brandon Sklenar, suddenly re-enters her life. Her relationship with Riley is upended, and Lily realizes she must learn to rely on her own strength to make an impossible choice for her future. Directed by Justin Baldoni and produced by Alex Sachs, Jamie Heath, Blake Lively, and Christy Hall. The film stars Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, Jenny Slate, Han Ming, all these other people. Let's see. Based on the book by Colleen Hoover. Positioning. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are starring in the film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's highest-selling novel, It Ends With Us. This is the first film of Colleen Hoover's phenomenon to be adapted for the big screen. She is also executive producing. Justin Baldoni also directing and executive producing, as well as starring Blake Lively, is also producing. Brandon Sklenar is perfectly cast as the charismatic Atlas, who brings an impressive emotional depth to the role, along with Jenny Slate and Hassan Minha, who both bring compassion and humor to the film. Teen versions of Atlas and Lily are played by up-and-coming actors Alex Newstetter and Isabella Ferrer, who deliver exceptional performances. It Ends With Us is a big, emotional, complicated story about breaking free from the past and empowering yourself in your future. The character of Lily Bloom has resonated with so many readers because her journey is relatable. Her story isn't black and white. She has to make hard decisions that have lasting consequences. This is a story about Lily's journey, from leaving a small town, moving to Boston, and embarking on a whole new life. She leaves behind a complicated childhood, and in doing so discovers her own resilience and strength, empowering her to stand up to adversity. It's more than just a love story or a love triangle. It's the story of Lily learning how to take agency of her future and growing up in a home where Lily witnessed her mother being abused by her father and vowing never to be in that position. She enters a relationship with Riley and unwittingly finds herself following the same footsteps as her mother. Through this journey, Lily must learn to stand up for herself and the true strength that lies within. The book connected with millions of readers and became a rare phenomenon in the publishing world. Everyone knows someone who has read this book, and after becoming a book talk, cultural phenomenon with over 2 billion views on her TikTok hashtag, Colleen Hoover is currently the best-selling novelist in the U.S. with over 25 million books sold by the end of 2023. Hoover wrote 5 of the top 10 best-selling print books of any genre in 2022. Published in 43 foreign languages, It Ends With Us was the top-selling print book in 2022 and has been on the New York Times bestseller list for over 135 weeks by the end of 2023. What to avoid? Focus more on Lily's strength and resilience as opposed to describing the film as a story about domestic violence. Empowerment is not just about standing up to adversity, but also about having the power to overcome within oneself and grow from it, and developing agency to shape the future. Avoid talking about this film that makes it feel sad or heavy. It's a story of hope. Avoid talking about the film being representative of every woman's story. There are many stories of domestic violence, and this is just one perspective that is inspired by Colleen Hoover's own experiences growing up. Only if asked any questions about this story not being an authentic representation of domestic violence. This is just one perspective that is inspired by Colleen Hoover's own deeply personal story of growing up in Texas. Ask questions about the lack of diversity in the cast. Any questions about the lack of diversity in the cast? We have such a wonderful cast who all bring something unique in telling this powerful story of one woman learning to take agency over her future. I'm so proud to be part of an incredible group of women who have to make this film that is inspired by Colleen Hoover's own deeply personal story of growing up in Texas. Overall guidance. Keep in mind that the journalists only use a small portion of their final pieces, so we need to provide sound bites and at most 2 or 3 sentence answers. Anything longer will be cut or misconstrued, especially given the sensitive nature of how quickly out of context answers spread on social. You can still get your messaging across just with carefully chosen words. While It Ends With Us is an emotional, complicated story, it's also a story of hope and breaking free from the past and empowering yourself and your future. We want to focus on the positive elements in interviews. Okay. Discussing abuse, how abusers or the abused are perceived outwardly, takes us down a path that is not only dark, but will detract from the primary messaging. Digging too deeply into personal stories will not only take time, but they will not be picked up by social media and they will go unused. It also opens the door for journalists to direct the conversation away from the movie. In fact, it gets much resistance from the film distributor. Baldoni, from day one, made it clear that he was making this film to bring awareness to domestic violence and would not refrain from doing so when promoting the film. He did not go rogue, as Lively alleges. Justin says, "Good morning, team. So I was thinking about the response to this weekend, and I feel like what we should do is make sure to emphasize the voices of the survivors. It's going to be a lot of buzz, how much money the movie made, but I want to be the one that always directed back to the survivors. So I would love to come up with some sort of video or carousel of messages from survivors and the response to the film." While in Sweden, celebrating his wife's birthday, Baldoni was informed that Lively demanded he not attend the film's premiere on August 6th of 2024. Lively further threatened that if Baldoni attended the premiere, she and the majority of the cast would boycott. It remained unclear what Lively had communicated to or promised the cast, but they now also refused to attend if Baldoni was present. The fact that Sony advised Wayfarer to concede underscores Lively and Reynolds' immense power and influence. Baldoni and Wayfarer refused to succumb to the bullying tactics aimed at excluding them from the premiere of their film, a project they had financed, produced, and owned. This threat marked the culmination of a year-long campaign of intimidation, harassment, and civil extortion. Although objectively egregious and shocking, the Wayfarer team had unfortunately grown accustomed to the bullying, fully aware of the immense power this couple wielded and the far-reaching extent of their influence. However, they refused to give in to this entirely unreasonable demand and valiantly searched for a compromise with Lively so that they could attend the premiere of the film that Baldoni had directed and co-starred in and that Wayfarer had co-financed and produced. Heath moved mountains to negotiate a scenario that Lively would permit, with the help of Sony, as Lively refused to speak to anyone connected with Wayfarer. Just days before the film's premiere, Baldoni was still unsure if he would be allowed to attend. His friends and family, most traveling from outside New York, were left in limbo, unable to finalize travel plans or book flights. Baldoni did his best he could to try to hide his pain. Despite not having seen the final cut of the movie he co-starred, co-financed, and directed. He wanted to celebrate the culmination of his years of work with his family and friends. Justin Baldoni to editor number 2. Long story, but we won't be in the same room. I was asked not to even come to the premiere. I can't figure it out. I can figure it out. Well, if you decide to change your mind last minute, let me know and let's figure it out together. I'm going to be there, and that's just different timing and holding areas and theaters and all the things you can imagine. It's still our film. Editor 2. It will be very hard for me to sit and watch the final film for the first time at the premiere. Just cheer for us when our names come up. Sending all love. Oh yeah, I haven't seen it either. Finally, through Sony, Wayfarer persuaded Lively to permit Baldoni and the Wayfarer team, along with their friends and family, to attend, though only under demeaning and humiliating conditions. They were relegated to a separate theater to view the film, required to arrive at a different time than the rest of the cast, and instructed to leave the red carpet immediately once Lively arrived. Baldoni was also excluded from the official celebrity after party, despite it being an event ultimately paid for by Sony and Wayfarer. As a result, Baldoni had to quickly organize and fund a separate after party for himself and the Wayfarer team, forcing the company to cover the costs for 2 events, one for Lively and everyone else, and one for Baldoni and Wayfarer own friends, family, crew, and team. Upon arrival, Baldoni began participating in red carpet photos and interviews about the presence of the remainder of the cast. However, his time on the red carpet was abruptly cut short when it was conveyed that Lively was on her way, and he was instructed to stop immediately. He and his family were quickly ushered away. Security personnel, acting as though this was a risk of escape, escorted Baldoni's group to the basement of the building, and there they were confined to a makeshift holding area surrounded by a concession stand stock with only fold-out tables and chairs arranged in a square. Surrounded by close family, friends, soda bottles, and a lot of love, the irony of being held in the basement on what was arguably one of the most important nights of Baldoni's career thus far was not lost on anyone. Once the main theater was deemed clear of Lively and her guests, Baldoni and his group were ushered into a separate theater to view the film. At the conclusion of the screening, they were again quickly escorted out of the building by security to avoid even a chance of interaction with Lively or her guests. The Wayfarer after party, held separately from the celebrity event and attended by crew, family, and other Wayfarer friends, was a dry gathering, in part to acknowledge the known negative relationship between alcohol and domestic violence. It was attended by the entire Wayfarer team from Los Angeles and their friends and family. The atmosphere and tone of the Wayfarer after party were aligned with Baldoni's vision for the film, focusing on celebration and gratitude despite being humiliated. In the meantime, Baldoni was sidelined as Lively and Sony pressed forward with the promotional strategy for the film. By contrast, Baldoni's marketing plan, outlined in his initial proposal to Sony years prior, shared with Lively and communicated numerous times to both. Sony and Lively centered on a partnership with the organization No More. Founded in 2013, No More is a global initiative aimed in raising awareness, inspiring action, and sparking conversations to end domestic violence and sexual assault. Wayfarer's collaboration with the organization began in 2022 and held a deep personal significance for both Wayfarer and Baldoni. Staying true to his purpose for undertaking the film, Baldoni prioritized amplifying the voices of survivors of domestic violence. His efforts reflected the heart of the film's story and its profound impact on audiences. He returned to the core reason for embarking on the project in the first place. His initial outreach to the author of It Ends With Us 5 years earlier, focusing on the film's message and its potential to create positive change. Baldoni poured himself into ensuring its success despite the mounting challenges. These genuine efforts aimed at amplifying the voices of survivors impacted by the film were later mischaracterized and weaponized against Baldoni. In the end, empowered by her celebrity firepower and her powerful allies, Lively... Oh, hello, Heart Made Wise. You fell asleep? That's okay. In the end, empowered by her celebrity firepower and her powerful allies, Lively did exactly what she set out to do. She took someone else's movie for her own, destroying years of creative vision and careful planning in service of her own brand-building campaign. But why would Lively even seek to seize power over the film? Why would she insist on taking on additional work for no additional pay or credit? On information and belief, Lively may have been motivated by a number of factors. She may have wanted to seize control over the film so that she could take over the production of the sequel, It Starts With Us. This motivation also explains why the cast, who may have hoped and or been promised a role in subsequent productions, would choose to side with the powerful couple who themselves may genuinely believed they could destroy Baldoni and Wayfarer and force them to cede or even sell the rights to the sequel. Or Lively may have felt driven to match her star husband Ryan Reynolds, who is widely reported to have insisted on taking so much control over the film Deadpool 2 that the director Tim Miller left the production.
Tim Miller, isn't that the guy she had over at her place? Seeing the fame and success that Reynolds commanded, she may have adopted his oft-repeated pattern wholesale to seize her own power and control, following his lead and evidenced by many statements by Lively that she is involved in every project she works on and vice versa. Lively and Reynolds, accustomed to getting their own way, perhaps felt entitled. Let's see. Regardless of why Lively insisted on seizing control of the film, this is precisely what she did. There can be no justification for her Machiavellian and civilly extortionate tactics deployed to grab complete control over the film. Debbie D., I just woke up about an hour ago. My days and nights are messed up. Hello, Debbie D. Lively also sought ultimate control over the film in the hope of boasting her own brand and business venture. In the end, though, Lively's own words and promotional strategy led to an avalanche of negative press. Lively's power grab and catastrophic miscalculation collapse on her. Starting at least July 10th of 2024, Lively's social media posts promoting the film maintained a lighthearted, frothy attitude, depicting Lively in glamorous and floral-inspired couture, highlighting high-end brands like Chanel and Christian Louis Vuitton. Okay. Louis Vuitton. Let's see here. Lively, freely interspersed post about her new movie with ads for her new hair care line, Blake Brown. Upon information and belief, the launch of Blake Brown was timed to coincide with the film's release in the hope that cross-promotional opportunities would boost sales for Lively's new brand. Hello, Linda. Lively also sprinkled in cross-promotions with her alcohol brand, Betty Booze. This was a massive error in judgment. Social media commenters quickly pointed out that this tie-in was in particularly poor taste given the World Health Organization estimates that 55% of domestic violence incidents are linked to alcohol. Not good, Blake. Not good. Tellingly, Wayfarer spotted the issues and called for a course correction long before Lively apparently realized the magnitude of her miscalculation. Wayfarer CEO Heath responded to the organic online criticism by noting that many people are pointing out that the DV, domestic violence, is being glossed over and that Justin is essentially the only one appreciating the subject matter while others may not be giving it the proper respect it deserves. As you know, this has always been a concern of ours. So Jamie Heath says, hey all, so we have all seen the noise and chatter regarding Justin and Blake and cast. This is all crazy, but I'd like for us to take a look at that even in the midst of feuding, how many people are pointing out that the DV is being glossed over and that Justin is essentially the only one appreciating the subject matter while others may not be giving it the proper respect it deserves. As you know, this has always been a concern of ours, and I think we might agree that there is enough response to at least consider giving it a bit more thought. We are opening with great numbers, and that is a testament to the movie itself and also the way you positioned it, no doubt. And we should listen to the responses and really embrace what we're hearing. It won't hurt the movie by being more deliberate in embracing the DV aspect. People need to know that we too recognize the gravity and
the sensitivities of this subject. Looking forward to your thoughts, Jamie. Wayfair's Vice President of Marketing and Communications shared a post exemplifying the issue, which included the tagline, "Grab your friends, wear your florals," that soon became viral for all the wrong reasons. Good Morning sharing this post that's using the exact message that's been called out for inappropriately marketing the film. Grab your friends, wear your florals. Ends with Us is now playing exclusively in theaters. Get tickets. Heath and others at Wayfair advise listening and responding to the wave of online criticism that had met the bubbly, sunny messaging that Lively herself embraced so wholeheartedly, though Lively now claims that Heath, Baldoni, and others at Wayfair sabotaged her by planting astroturfed media criticisms of Lively. It seems that if she had listened to and respected the plaintiff's perspective and insights on the unique sensitivities of marketing the film rather than seizing the helm and then driving the ship aground, everything would still be coming up roses for her. Most importantly, had she allowed Baldoni to take this rightful place side by side with her in the promotion of the film, Baldoni would assuredly have kept domestic violence in the spotlight during all promotions, which would assuredly have prevented her from hurting her own image. Lively's reputational backlash was entirely her own doing. Okay, and this is Jamie Heath to Sony team. To be clear, we are not saying it's been inappropriately marketed in any way. In fact, you have all been brilliant. Thank you. Extremely honored to be partners with you. It's been fantastic. The proof is in the pudding. This post is only pointing to the ones who have spoken about the marketing. And while I'm not dissuaded by the commentary, it's good to take some learnings from it. I know and trust you understand the point, and I look forward to discussing it with you all. Congratulations on a huge, huge success. You play a big and amazing part in it. Thanks again, Jamie. Okay. But once the backlash started on social media, without any effort by Lively to course correct, and entirely without any involvement or effort by Baldoni, it rapidly spread to mainstream media. See, Natasha joke. Here's what's going on with It Ends With Us drama. Carly Johnson and Lillian Gizen, Blake Lively goes into damage control, finally addressing the domestic violence in It Ends With Us amid criticism over tone-deaf film promo. Lillian Gizen, Blake Lively's fans blast It Ends With Us actress over tone-deaf and shallow interview with co-stars. That's a whole bunch of things. Indeed, while Baldoni sought to focus on the film's central premise, Lively incensed audiences with seemingly flippant and thoughtless remarks, encouraging viewers to grab your friends and wear your florals. Embarrassed and enraged by this self-induced backlash, Lively now seeks to vilify Baldoni in a dubious attempt to resuscitate her public image. Lively seeks to push the blame onto the plaintiffs. Upon information and belief, Lively ordered her team to begin a campaign to frame herself as a martyr and pin the blame on the plaintiffs. Behind the scenes, Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, devised and executed a smear campaign of her own against Baldoni.
Known for her tendency to leak sensitive stories to provoke public controversy, Sloan reneged on an agreement with Nathan by continuing to disseminate false and defamatory stories about Baldoni and Wayfarer, a process she had begun long before Wayfarer and Baldoni ever retained Nathan. At 10:11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on August 8, 2024, Nathan and Sloan reached an agreement whereby neither would communicate directly with a reporter prior to informing the other. Nathan states, "I am not doing one thing without speaking to you," to which Sloan responded, "Me either." Happy to I land in less than 2 hours. This is Leslie. Thank you. Have a safe flight. Just also, I am not doing one thing without speaking to you. I'm not answering one email about this situation. I've told everyone to not do one thing, plant seed, even speak to one reporter, even on background. Now I am involved. There will be no shock or surprises to you. Me either. Just minutes later, Sloan breached her agreement with Nathan by engaging with a reporter at the Daily Mail. The reporter asked to speak with Sloan regarding problems on the set involving Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni and the fallout over the Blake being labeled difficult and a power struggle existing. Sloan, without consulting Nathan, promptly responded, "That is 1,000% untrue, and further, your info is totally off. It is evident that Sloan never intended to honor her agreement with Nathan. Instead, she exploited the agreement to gain a strategic advantage in the media." Have to talk to you about some stuff that came in from reporters re Blake and her new movie drama. On plane, like what? Well, it's a lot to text, but it's regarding problems on the set involving her and Justin Baldoni and the fallout over that, with Blake being labeled difficult and a power struggle existing. That is 100%, 1,000% untrue, but I don't want to go on record. Never on record. Your info is totally off. There is clearly something going on because it's cold from 3 reporters and none of them are me. In fact, Sloan actively continued her discussions with the Daily Mail reporter, sending false information to cast Baldoni in a negative light. To divert attention from Lively's tyrannical behavior on set, Sloan attempted to portray Baldoni as the antagonist, stating, "The whole cast doesn't like Justin, nothing to do with Blake." She doubled down, insisting, "I'm telling you, she's a liar." They are panicking as the whole cast hates him. Sloan also threatened the reporter, saying, "The entire case I will have go on the record. This needs to hold." What? I don't even get what she's done. First she's saying the whole cast doesn't like Justin, but then she's saying that Blake's a liar, so she's talking bad against both of them? I don't really, it's weird. What's gone? Who's gone? You're feeling better? Okay, that's good. I'm glad. There is clearly something going on because it's cold from 3 reporters and none of them are me. I'm just the only one not afraid to reach out to you, LOL. You have it all wrong. Your reporters are so wrong. Okay, I'm just being straight up with you because that is how I roll always. I'm coming to you because I actually like Blake and I don't want Daily Mail to F with her. One of them said that Blake and Ryan insisted on rewriting the movie, and another that she got very opinionated over directorial issues. Do you want to ring me when you land and I'll tell them that they need to hold off on anything for a few because her rep is unavailable and I need to at least get no comment. No one knows that we speak, just that you would read emails from me and respond. Yes, please, as this is all wrong. She didn't require script
runs. Nothing to do with this. She produced the film and got a cut. WTF is going on? The whole cast doesn't like Justin. Nothing to do with Blake. Like I said, the reporting is there that there were issues between her and Justin as well as others, and that Justin found it difficult to work with her. One of these reporters, known as close with Steph Jones, because they used to always get Tom Brady, Giselle Scheit, and Steph reps him. I believe I told them she is awful and to not rely on anything she says. I'm telling you, she's a liar. They are panicking as the whole cast hates him. I promise she is lying. Oh, she's talking about the reporter. This will not look good for your site. The entire cast I will have go on record. Can you give me anything at all? What the issue is, that it's not her and it's him? No, I'm in a plane and this needs to hold. Sounds good. I'd like to clear this shite up. At 7:59 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on August 9th, Nathan, consistent with the pair's agreement, sent a text message to Sloan containing an email that she received from a Daily Mail reporter. Unbeknownst to Nathan, this was the same reporter with whom Sloan had been communicating the day prior. Nathan confirmed that she played no part in the story and told Sloan, I'm going to have to speak with him, but I'm going to tell him nothing. She added, happy to chat with you beforehand if you prefer. Sloan deliberately omitted the fact that she had spoken with the reporter just 24 hours prior, stating, let me know how it goes. Warning, I just got this, but I'm going to have to speak to him, but I'm just going to tell him nothing. Happy to chat with you beforehand. Do you prefer? Let me know how it goes. Truth behind why Blake Lively is feuding with Justin Baldoni revealed. And on Zoom, call you right back. Despite their agreement, Nathan was completely unaware that Sloan had provided the reporter with information that significantly altered the narrative of the published story. Indeed, the reporter originally sought to produce a story about Blake being labeled difficult on set. After the reporter's discussion with Sloan, however, the story changed to, we have learned that Justin Baldoni caused issues on this set. Not only did Sloan breach the agreement with Nathan, but she planted false and defamatory information about Baldoni to distract from Lively's numerous missteps and throw Wayfarer and Baldoni on the defensive. Following the release of Lively's administrative complaint on December 20th, 2024, the same Daily Mail reporter informed Nathan that Sloan had lied to portray Baldoni as the foe. Yet still, Sloan escalated the false narrative by telling the reporter that Blake was essayed an unsubstantiated accusation that not even Lively had gone so far as to claim designed to destroy Baldoni and his reputation. She said the whole cast hates Justin. This has nothing to do with Blake, and now she's saying that Blake was essayed. Why wouldn't she say anything about that then? She knows she's full of shite. She told me that the whole issue was that everybody hates Justin. Nothing about Blake and Justin. She said it has nothing to do with Blake. BS. Sloan ruthlessly took advantage of Nathan's good faith. As a result, Nathan was forced to combat the negative press that was both planted and propagated by Sloan. Ultimately, the actual smear campaign was orchestrated by Sloan at Lively's direction. Jones offers ammunition for Lively's revenge and her own. Enter Stephanie Jones, Wayfarer and Baldoni's embattled former publicist and a critical player in Lively's Scorched Earth campaign against Baldoni. Scorched Earth campaign, that sounds familiar. Wayfarer and their teams. Jones is the founder of CEO of Jones Works, a New York-based public relations firm that Wayfarer engaged in May 2020, and that later handled publicity for Baldoni personally. For almost 4 years, the Jones Works Baldoni Wayfarer account was managed by Jen Abel, Jones's right hand, who ran Jones Works' Los Angeles office Abel developed a close and trusting relationship with Baldoni, Heath, and the rest of the Wayfarer team, particularly as their strategic communications needs became ever more complex due to the defendant's machinations. Long known within the public relations industry for her disarming Southern twang, brass-knuckled tactics, and high turnover clients and employees, Jones has had a successful career, having founded Jones Works and represented at various times Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez, Venus Williams, Tom Brady, and Chris Hemsworth. Until recently, however, Jones had kept her worst excesses hidden from the public view. That changed in or around May of 2024 when Puck reported that Sanchez and Johnson had dropped Jones as their publicist, and while they were among the most prominent and publicly reported departures, a cascade of Jones Works clients began to cut ties with Jones, especially after word had spread that Business Insider was contacting Jones' former and current clients and employees about a forthcoming article about her sordid behavior. On May 8, 2024, a website called Stephanie Jones Leaks went live, along with a Twitter account, a Facebook page, a Reddit account, and a Pinterest page. These platforms disclosed a litany of highly disturbing allegations about Jones's behavior and business practices, many concerning Jones's mistreatment of JonesWorks employees and clients. These revelations caused a firestorm in Hollywood, resulting in a surge of negative publicity regarding Jones, including the publication of her Business Insider piece entitled "Who's Afraid of Stephanie Jones?" See Katie Warren and Jack Newsham. Who's Afraid of Stephanie Jones? Business Insider. The Business Insider piece shed more light on the real Jones. Always a volatile personality, Jones had become noticeably more paranoid, erratic, and cruel in recent years. The Business Insider story also shed light on the toxic workplace Jones had fostered at JonesWorks. At the office, Jones would regularly turn on deafening music so that she could berate her employees free from scrutiny. "I don't think there was one day in that office that someone wasn't crying," said a former employee. Jones also pried into her employees' private lives without invitation. When employees called in sick, Jones would FaceTime them to confirm they were actually sick. In at least one instance, an employee who had taken a personal day to attend a funeral received a FaceTime call from Jones during the ceremony. Jones was apparently suspicious of his whereabouts. Unsurprisingly, turnover rates at JonesWorks were extraordinary. These departures included not only junior employees who often left after less than a year, but also senior executives who managed client accounts. Jones seldom allowed them to go amicably, often enlisting attorneys to threaten and intimidate them into agreeing not to disparage Jones. Your water is frozen? Oh no. In April of 2023, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson dropped JonesWorks after clashes between Jones and Johnson's team. JonesWorks had handled Johnson's personal PR as well as that of the production company, Tequila Brand, clothing company, and business partner Danny Garcia. This was a big loss for Jones, and one that she kept under wraps from the media in order to leverage opportunities for other clients. The same year, Jones was also dropped by Bezos, Sanchez, Lainey Wilson, Chris Hemsworth, Wheels Up, Ocean Spray, and Partake Foods. Through it all, Jennifer Abel remained loyal to Jones, sticking with her through thick and thin, despite growing doubts about Jones's ability to function personally. Jones had become increasingly hostile towards Abel, criticizing Abel's management, displaying paranoia about her close relationships with clients and partners, and going out of her way to reprimand, demean, and embarrass Abel in front of junior employees she oversaw. Over time, Abel became convinced that Jones was in a downward spiral, and that she harbored serious concerns about Jones's mental health. Jones had become increasingly erratic, calling and FaceTiming Abel at all hours of the night in a frenzied state, overly pitting employees against each other and attempting to catch them in perceived activities of disloyalty. Jones had always been volatile, but her behavior had become downright deranged. Often, Abel was on the receiving end of her outbursts. For example, Jones informed Abel's charges that she had learned through psychic readings that Abel was an alcoholic and a gambling addict. Neither has any basis in fact. While Jones presumably intended to undermine Abel's credibility, she had actually undermined her own and raised significant concern among the Jones Works staff about her mental stability. Jones also announced, per her psychic, that Abel would soon be pregnant with twins, humiliating and infuriating Abel, who Jones knew had struggled with fertility issues. Already pushed to the brink, Abel finally had enough when Jones demanded she corroborate falsified allegations about a senior Jones Work employee in an effort to drive him out. When Abel refused to go along with it, Jones responded with mockery, calling her a 12-year-old drama queen. On July 10, 2024, Abel notified Jones of her departure from Jones Work and an intention to start her own business. Abel offered a 6-week transition period with an end date of August 23, 2024. Predictably, Jones took the news poorly, to say the least. Consistent with her increasingly erratic behavior, Jones swung from extreme to extreme. 1 minute desperately attempting to convince Abel to stay, and the next berating her and cutting her out. When Abel was resolute about leaving, she had every intention of doing so amicably, a sentiment she repeatedly conveyed to Jones. However, as Abel's end date drew closer, Jones grew more combative. With several weeks left in her tenure and innumerable client matters to handle, Abel found that she had been removed from client email distribution lists and left in the dark about meetings, calls, and events she was expected to attend. It was clear to Abel that Jones was trying to embarrass Abel and tarnish her professional reputation in advance of her departure. I did leave mine dripping. It freezes at the well house where the pipe comes out of the ground, about a 5-inch space. My light burned out. It will be okay. Also, the cabinets under the sinks are open. In her final week, Abel contacted Jones's chief and staff concerning the release of her phone number. When Abel joined Jones Work in 2020, she ported her existing phone number, which she had used since high school, and switched to a Jones Works issued iPhone. Knowing that she would have to turn over the physical device upon her departure, Abel arranged for her phone number to be released so she could port it to a new device and retain decades worth of personal contacts, photos, private conversations with family and friends, and confidential financial data and access accounts protected by 2-factor authorization. Jones Works' chief of staff assured her multiple times in writing that Jones Works would cooperate and uphold their agreement. On August 21st, 2024, 2 days before her last day, Abel pulled up to the Jones Works office in Beverly Hills and was confronted by a physically imposing security guard, a lawyer sitting at a conference table covered in documents, an IT professional, and Jones's chief of staff, who had flown in unannounced from New York. Apart from Jones's chief of staff, Abel had never seen any of them before. After being ushered into the conference room, Abel saw now the security guard was posted just outside its doors, blocking the exit. There, the attorney pointed to the documents and told Abel in a menacing and cold tone to review and sign them. The attorney told her that Jones Works believed she had proprietary information on her personal laptop and would likely have grounds to sue if Abel did not allow them access.
Completely caught off guard by this hostile and intimidating display, Abel fell into a state of shock. She had never experienced anything like this and didn't know what to do. Fearful, what's the matter? You hope this can work, they can work this out. What are you talking about, Linda? This? Fearful that she would burst into tears and humiliate herself, which she knew was what Jones wanted, Abel disassociated. Knowing she had not done anything wrong and desperate to get out of there, she signed all the documents without digesting their contents. Afterwards, the lawyer demanded that Abel hand over her personal laptop. Abel complied, and the IT professional conducted a search that turned up nothing. The attorney then presented Abel with a list of approximately 10 documents and accused Abel of having accessed and stolen them. Abel denied having done so, and the IT specialist conducted a further search of her laptop, which again turned up nothing. The attorney then instructed Abel to hand over her phone, after which security would escort her out of the building. Still utterly shell-shocked and desperate to get out of there, Abel agreed to hand over her phone so long as they would confirm that Jones Works would immediately release her personal cell phone number, which would enable Jones Works to take possession of her physical device without gaining unrestrained access to its contents. It would also allow Abel to get a new phone and move on with her life without undue disruption. Also, after expressing confirmation from the Jones Works chief of staff and attorney, Abel handed them her phone and was ushered out of the building as her colleagues watched in disbelief, seeing that Abel had been stripped of her phone and therefore had no way to contact anyone. Some reached out to Abel's partner, family, friends, and former co-workers to let them know what happened. Abel went straight to a Verizon store, short distance away. Once there, Verizon contacted Jones Works to coordinate the release and transfer. The Jones Works chief of staff assured Abel and Verizon that they were in the process of effectuating the release and to bear with them for a few minutes. Abel never heard from him again. After 4 hours of desperate, unanswered calls, Abel left Verizon in panic and despair. Abel realized Jones had double-crossed her in a very serious way. By refusing to release Abel's phone number, Jones Works had usurped her contact information and cut off Abel's access to critical accounts protected by two-factor authorization linked to that phone number. As a result, Abel lost access to her iCloud, including all of her text messages, phones, photos, and contacts, bank accounts, utilities, insurance, and virtually every other sensitive account. By contrast, Jones now had unrestricted access to everything stored on Abel's phone, her text messages, emails, personal photos. Jones could read her communications with her fiancé, her parents, her friends, everyone. Jones was acting purely out of spite. It took Abel over a month to regain control over all of her accounts, and meanwhile she learned that Jones had been sharing her private text messages with the entire office, mocking and disparaging her, having torched Abel's privacy and dignity. Jones started boasting that Abel's business was next. In or around early September 2024, Jones warned a departing employee not to work for Abel because her business wouldn't be around much longer. Hi, Puddin'. How are you? How are you doing? Stephanie Jones falls out with Wayfarer and Baldoni. By then, Jones also had an axe to grind with Wayfarer. For the entirety of Wayfarer's 4-year engagement with Jones Works, Abel was the point on the account. Jones was more concerned with prestige clients like Tom Brady and devoted little to Wayfarer or Baldoni. But Jones Works was in utter turmoil by July of 2024. Already bleeding clients and personnel, Jones learned that Business Insider was working on an unflattering story about her set to be published sometime in August. Her reputation had already become severely damaged by the Stephanie Jones Leaks website and social media accounts.
Jones was desperate to keep her remaining clients. Given Abel's close relationship with Wayfarer and Baldoni, Jones was undoubtedly concerned that they would leave Jones Works alongside her, and she wanted to make sure that didn't happen. At the time, Wayfarer and Baldoni were in the midst of a massive PR crisis as news stories began to trickle out concerning tension between Lively and Baldoni just as the film was about to premiere. Jones started participating in meetings, calls, and written correspondence to reassert her authority over the account and convey her engagement to Wayfarer. Abel recommended that Wayfarer engage a crisis PR specialist, Melissa Nathan, to assist in navigating these choppy waters. The need for crisis expertise was particularly acute due to Lively's demand that Baldoni not be permitted to attend the premiere. In addition, Abel learned that from Nathan that, per her media contacts, a negative story was being shopped around to multiple outlets, positioning Baldoni's religion as a cult and accusing Baldoni of having fat-shamed Lively. When Jones learned that Wayfarer was considering retaining Nathan, she was furious. Jones viewed Nathan as a competitor and was conveyed to Abel that her recommendation to Wayfarer was a betrayal of trust. Jones then sought to derail the plan, bad-mouthing Nathan and disclosing client confidences from past collaborations between Jones Works and Nathan. This is kind of mess. Melissa Nathan, crisis PR, lies and cleans up. Lies, dirty work. I also don't want Blake's team to align with you people. With people like this Melissa works with. While Heath acknowledged Jones's position, he told her that Wayfarer would make its own decision after meeting Nathan. So Jones inserted herself into the mix in early August 2024, seeking to box out Nathan and Abel. The problem, however, was that Jones had chosen not to be privy to a Wayfarer leadership's communication strategy or internal decision-making. Having long claimed to be too busy with higher-profile clients, Wayfarer was fine with Jones's disengagement, as Abel was their trusted advisor, and they had no interest in being a pawn in Jones Works' office politics in addition. Jones had chosen to take a lengthy vacation in Europe during this critical period of press campaign and premiere of the film, even from afar. Jones's efforts were ham-fisted, unwelcome, and sporadic, given her distance from Wayfarer's day-to-day business. As Jones tried to stir up drama and undermine Abel's authority, Wayfarer and Baldoni were focused solely on managing the crisis in front of them. At the time, Lively and Baldoni's teams had negotiated an uneasy truce in which neither side would participate in negative coverage of the other. Lively's team had already broken that truce, but the Wayfarer team did not know that. As far as they were concerned, it was best for Baldoni, Lively, and the film if both sides agreed to keep the peace. Through Wayfarer's team had to date been acting only in defense in response to press inquiries. But on August 8, 2024, Jones, in another desperate attempt to reinsert herself, contacted a Daily Mail reporter after a story they had published about Baldoni and Lively. She did so in direct violation of Abel's instruction not to talk to the press, given the truce with Lively's team. Nonetheless, Jones bragged to Wayfarer about trading calls with the Daily Mail in an effort to appear engaged on the account. She took over the film and destroyed anyone who got in her way, Puddin said. Stephanie Jones. Hi, I'm a reporter for the Daily Mail. Let's see. To Stephanie Jones. I'm currently working on a story surrounding the recent rumors that there's a feud between It Ends With Us co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. People in the media are talking about how they didn't pose together at premieres or do any press together. I wanted to give you a chance to respond to these rumors. Okay, Stephanie Jones has been nice and fixed things for us in the past. I can give her a call that this is nothing bigger. The blatant disregard of Wayfarer's strategy sparked a chain of unfortunate developments. Sloan and Sony learned that someone from Baldoni's team had been communicating negatively to media. It was clearly Jones, and Wayfarer's leadership was livid, as was Sony. All parties were desperate. Hey, stop that, to the rug. As was Sony. All parties were desperate to prevent an all-out slugfest between Lively and Baldoni just as the film was about to be released to the world. With her recklessness and unauthorized activities, Jones had made the scenario much more likely. In response, Wayfarer instructed Jones to cease all activities on behalf of Wayfarer and Baldoni for the time being, and to let Abel and another Los Angeles-based Jones work employee, Matthew Mitchell, handle the crisis alongside Nathan. At this time, Nathan started hearing from the other journalists that Sloan was planting negative stories about Baldoni and was under the impression that Baldoni's camp had broken the truce. Anxious Sony executives began reaching out to Wayfarer seeking clarity. Yet Jones panicked about being blamed, refused to be sidelined, insisting that she needed to contact Sony and Lively's PR teams to clarify that she had not planted any negative stories about Lively. Heath told her not to do that, to which Jones responded that she could do whatever she wants to clear her name and that Wayfarer could not stop her from making calls. Desperate to salvage her reputation with Lively, Sony, Jones emailed a number of key Sony executives working on the film to declare she was in Europe with her husband, partner at WME, Jason Hodes, and placing all blame on her team in an attempt to save face. Jones ruptured her relationship with Wayfarer and Baldoni. Although Jones ultimately agreed to stand down, Wayfarer and Baldoni had lost all trust in her after parachuting in her own self-interest reasons, nearly blowing up the truce with Lively's team, and lashing out when told to stop. Jones became a magnet for drama when it was least needed. Aha! But Jones was not ready to throw in the towel. Ironically, given her later attempts to fabricate a smear campaign narrative, it was Jones, not Wayfarer, Baldoni, Abel, or Nathan, who started advocating for a more aggressive public relations strategy. I sent you an email of what I think the strategy should be, as Justin is not being represented in these stories. We have to fight every story. I also attached my phone record so you could see I did not make Daily Mail or receive or make any calls to the media. Tara, I swear, with my hand, I have never leaked anything to any outlet, and I think you know this. I just want to help Justin and Wayfarer. On about August 14th, Jones sent an email to Heath further elaborating on her recommended strategy. Flood the waters with positives. We need to ensure that we promote positive narratives that media outlets cannot ignore. Currently, more stories are heavily biased towards Blake's perspective, leaving Justin unrepresented. It's crucial that we fight every inch of every story, which requires far more effort than typical crisis PR, and put forth in our experience working with specialized crisis teams. Repair alternate stories. We should mobilize a robust network of supporters and third-party advocates ready to counter these narratives on deep background, as well as some on the record making it clear that these claims being made are untrue and unfounded. Blake Lively felt Justin Baldoni fat-shamed her, kissed too long during scene. She doubled down in an email on August 21st, threatening that Wayfarer and Baldoni had exclusive contract through May of 2025. Hi, Jamie. Justin, Wayfarer, you, Tara, and team are extremely important to us. I received your text a little over an hour ago, but I'm currently unable to make calls on my cell as my current location. Matthew Mitchell, one of our SVPs who you cited, has been one of your day-to-day senior executives on your account, said she just spoke to you and nothing was urgent. It was about an announcement for the new book adaptation. We're working on placing it on the heels of IEWU. Your below email is inaccurate, as you know. I have been deeply involved in strategy planning, account management, and high-level PR and media concerns, as well as crisis, until you asked me to stop communicating on your behalf of Justin and Wayfarer on 8/9/2024 and allow only Jennifer, Matthew, and team to handle. I've been on the set during shoots, and I have numerous calls weekly on with my team and yours, as well as many with Justin, particularly regarding Blake, often at 11 p.m., 1 a.m. Eastern Time. My commitment spans not only the past 8 years, but also the last 4 since you joined. This has never been one person, but rather it has been a true team effort with my full support alongside a dedicated team at Joneswork, including a senior vice president, 2 senior publicists, several account executives, and account coordinators working tirelessly for Justin and Wayfarer. On August 9th, 2024, you indicated that you wanted only Jennifer, Abel, and Matthew Mitchell and team to communicate on behalf of Justin and Wayfarer. It's my understanding that blah, blah, blah was retained and began communicating with teams just 4 days on August 13th, 2024, which demonstrates that I wouldn't have been stepping in mid-trial. I have spoken to Redacted, and I've also attempted to reach Redacted yesterday about a magazine cover for Justin that I've been working on for the last year now. As noted below, I have also made many attempts to contact you or email through phone, but I have not received any responses. We have an exclusive contract with you through May of 2025. You contacted a crisis media PR firm to handle your crisis-related matters. If you would like us to help you, that we absolutely can and will, please let me know. And please let me know that our team at Jonesworks is well equipped to manage everything as we always have without missing a beat. As September drew near, Wayfarer and Baldoni, with the assistance of Abel and Nathan, continued their tireless efforts to promote the film, put out fires, and see the project through to the finish line. Stewing in jealousy towards Abel and resentment towards Wayfarer, Baldoni, Jones clearly saw the writing on the wall, knowing she would soon be terminated. Jones started taking steps transparently intended to make it harder to cut her loose. Those steps included sending email after unwelcoming email to Heath and others long after their relationship had irrevocably ruptured, to lay the groundwork to contest that she had been detached and non-responsive for years. This was especially galling as Jones had been in Europe and largely incommunicado, save for disastrous efforts at self-preservation for weeks during the critical month of August when the film premiered. For Wayfarer and Baldoni, the decision was straightforward. As soon as Abel was out of Jonesworks, Wayfarer was out too. This was not about Abel poaching Wayfarer or Baldoni. And nor was it a part of a premeditated plan to cut out Jonesworks. But Abel was a trusted, loyal, and committed member of the team. Wherever she went, Wayfarer and Baldoni would follow. And on the other hand, Jones was a walking disaster, whose self-absorption, disloyalty, and insubordination had been a significant headache. Rather than accepting the end of the relationship with professionalism and decorum, Jones started threatening to sue, demanding exorbitant payment for work not done, and protesting that she had done an amazing job. But Wayfarer and Baldoni had already made the decision to part ways with Jonesworks, and their decision was final. For Jones, stewing in indignity and resentment, the loss of yet another client to Abel, no less, was a sting too great to bear, and so she chose to take revenge on all of them. Recall that Jones had taken possession of Abel's personal phone, including all of the text messages, emails, personal photos, and so forth. Having chosen a path of no return, she could now exploit them to great effect, pouring gasoline over the heads of the former clients and longtime former deputy and lighting as a match. On information and belief, Jones approached Lively's team with an appealing offer. Ammunition sufficient to destroy Baldoni, Wayfarer, and Abel in one fell swoop. Wielding reams of Abel's private communications, which could readily be sliced and diced to construct a false narrative, Jones had quite the pitch for an embattled Lively and her team. Knowing that Lively was convinced wrongly that Baldoni, and not her off-putting public appearances and cynical self-promotion, had been responsible for the rash of negative publicity directed towards her, Jones correctly assumed that she would find willing conspirators in the Lively camp.
In turning over these materials to Lively, Jones knew full well that the blowback would also engulf Wayfarer and Baldoni, and that was the point, revenge. Her plan worked like a charm, at least for a time. Working hand in glove with the New York Times, Lively concocted a fantastical narrative that laid the blame for the travails exactly where she believed it belonged, with others. The ramifications of this scheme have been grave for Wayfarer, Baldoni, Abel, and Nathan, who have become objects of public scorn and denison overnight. Abel and Nathan, two private individuals and female small business owners, have had their lives turned upside down. Their careers and reputations have been destroyed, their private information leaked, and their email with Baldoni wrongfully labeled as a sex post had accolades rescinded, and his future projects thrown into doubt. And Jones still has all of Abel's private photos and text messages, which Abel has every reason to believe will find their way online via Jones. Some already have. She lives in fear of what Jones had in store for her and for what other client confidences Jones is willing to divulge in her fire pit of pique at Abel. All of this because Abel dared to leave Jones' works and start her own business. The results have been calamity for everyone roped into Lively and James Jones's campaign of destruction. Lively and Reynolds threaten the plaintiffs unless they take the fall. On August 12, 2024, Heath and Abel had a call with two executives from their talent agency, and one admitted that the root of Lively's problems were focusing on the promotion of the film on frivolities like fabulous premiere dresses, Hollywood glamour, and the commercial benefits for Lively's brand, while Baldoni has always maintained his public focus on amplifying the voices of domestic violence survivors. The executive communicated the demand from Lively and Reynolds that Wayfarer, Heath, and Baldoni make a public apology that day, and that if they failed to do so, the gloves were coming off. Stunningly, the executive even told Heath and Abel that Lively and Reynolds objected when Baldoni spoke kindly of Lively in public, claiming that it misrepresented their relationship. The talent agency executive told Heath and Abel that Lively believed Wayfarer, Baldoni, and Heath were waging a shadow campaign against her. Abel quickly disabused the executives of that notion, conveying her belief that she and Sloan had reached a kind of truce, while Nathan had not come on the team or taken a proactive role until they started getting press requests. The second executive admitted on the call that no one pushes back on Lively and Reynolds. The next day, on August 13, 2024, Abel and Heath had another call with talent agency executives. During this call, one executive told Heath that the agency had spoken to Lively and Reynolds by phone about the overwhelming tide of negative publicity that they had faced over the past days. Heath clarified that Wayfarer, Baldoni, and Heath had no connection to the negative publicity, but they told Heath that Lively and Reynolds had demanded that Wayfarer put out a statement accepting blame for the problems during filming, with an express threat that they themselves would attack Wayfarer in the press if Wayfarer refused. The executives told Heath and Abel that Reynolds and Lively dictated a settlement and that they required Wayfarer to put out calling It Ends With Us a troubled production and forcing Wayfarer to take accountability for the problems in the production. Wayfarer, Baldoni, and Heath would have to acknowledge and own their mistakes, and all negativity being aimed at Reynolds and Lively. Abel and Heath asked the executives clarify what exactly Wayfarer, Baldoni, and Heath were being asked to take accountability for. They admitted that Lively and Reynolds were simply upset by how social media had turned against them. Stunningly, the executive admitted that Lively and Reynolds brought the backlash on themselves, but they were beyond reasoning with. He admitted that making constant threats was Lively and Reynolds' well-known modus operandi, and that their demands were not based on reality, but on finding someone to blame for their social media crisis besides themselves. Lively plays the final card in her hand, false accusations of a smear campaign deployed in the New York Times. When the plaintiffs refused to take the fall for Lively's disastrous
promotional campaign, Lively was true to her word. The gloves came off. Months after the film's premiere on December 21st, 2024, a bombshell article dropped in the New York Times, authored in part by Megan Twohey, who gained prominence for her expose of Harvey Weinstein. The article's headline promised a glimpse inside a Hollywood smear machine. We can bury anyone inside a Hollywood smear machine. The article purported to provide a detailed account of a calculated campaign to bring down Lively in retaliation for daring to speak out against sexual harassment on the set of It Ends With Us. The article draws heavily from the California Civil Rights Department complaint that was filed by Lively the day before. The CRD complaint and the article are both purportedly based on thousands of pages of text messages and emails that Lively obtained through a subpoena. The article notes, these and other documents were reviewed by the New York Times. The 4,000 plus words of the New York Times article dropped less than a day after Lively filed the CRD complaint. The close coordination between Lively's team. When did this go off? December 21st, okay. The close coordination between Lively's team and the New York Times, likely over a matter of months before the CRD complaint was filed, is plain. The article refers to the 17-point letter of production conditions that Lively insisted upon, while the reasons for making many of those demands were mystifying to plaintiffs, as at the time, once the article was published, it became clear that Lively had seeded her revenge more than a year before by insisting on superfluous and already extant protections. Lively laid the foundation for her baseless claims of pervasive sexual harassment when she buffaloed the plaintiffs into agreeing she sealed the perfect narrative poison pill, allowing her to later claim that plaintiff's agreement to the 17-point letter was proof positive that sexual harassment was endemic of the film set. But Lively had to explain away the self-inflicted mountain of bad press she had brought down on herself, as discussed elsewhere herein. Finally, Jones's wrongfully obtained texts could be deployed for maximum damage. On information and belief, Lively and her team used cherry-picked text messages, stripped of context, and even manipulated to peddle a narrative that plaintiffs have responded to Lively's complaints about purported sexual harassment by plotting to destroy her reputation through a shadow smear campaign. Apparently, the New York Times credulously accepted the narrative wholesale while making little or no attempt to investigate the veracity of the narrative. By telling the New York Times a false and damning story about an insidious PR sabotage operation deployed as revenge for sexual harassment complaints with the knowledge and intent that the newspaper would publish the false story, Lively and her co-conspirators committed the tort of defamation. For example, Lively's CRD complaint, which on information and belief she provided to the New York Times long before filing it, references text exchanges between Nathan and Abel as purported evidence that Nathan planted a negative story in the Daily Mail titled, "Is Blake Lively Set to Be Canceled?" Lively's portrayal is categorically false, misleading, and devoid of factual basis, yet knowingly propagated to the Times. Lively's smear campaign narrative hinges on an August 16th text exchange in which Nathan allegedly shared a link to the article with Abel. The text exchange shows Abel responding, "Wow," followed by, "You really outdid yourself with this one," to which Nathan allegedly replied, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." These messages constitute the entirety of the purported evidence underlying the allegation of a smear campaign orchestrated on behalf of Baldoni. But the information Lively fed to the New York Times was apparently selectively and deceptively edited, resulting in a gross misrepresentation that actually reversed the sarcastic meaning and tone of the messages. Okay, included, could Lively be canceled? Wow, you really outdid yourself. Included, and this is all excluded, it says, heading to the airport, and there's a drive through the jungle, and there's going to be no reception around 24 hours. Joke, 45 minutes. I'm sorry, you bring offline for 45 minutes was not included in the scope. Unacceptable. Lively, who apparently collaborated closely with the New York Times on the article covering her CRD complaint, must have known that the text messages were unscrupulously altered and selectively edited, enabling Lively and her team to propound a false smear campaign narrative designed to destroy plaintiffs for the Times, knowing or reckless discrimination, specifically in the immediately preceding text message exchange on August 16th. Nathan forwarded a screenshot of a message from a reporter informing her for the first time of the Daily Mail article. In response, Nathan wrote, "Damn, this is not fair because it's also not me," followed by, "Everything now looks like it's me." Perhaps unknowingly, Nathan was already anticipating the accusations that would soon be leveled against her and the fellow plaintiffs. The Mail is going nuts. "Damn, this is unfair because it's also not me. Everything now looks like it's me. Maybe not to you. No, it totally does look like his side." Further evidence of Lively's machinations appear in the missing emoji heard round the world after Nathan forwarded a screenshot of this article link. Abel responded with, "You really outdid yourself with this piece," adding an emoji to indicate the sarcastic nature of her message. The emoji is commonly used, the upside down face, to convey irony, sarcasm, joking, or a sense of goofiness or silliness. Oh my goodness. They forgot the emojis. Come on. In her CRD complaint, and apparently in the materials she forwarded to the Times with their uncritical publication, Lively deliberately excluded not only the preceding screenshot of the text exchange in which Nathan denies involvement in the story, but also the upside-down face emoji, fundamentally and willfully altering the sarcastic tone of Abel's message to mislead the reader with interpreting Abel's response as literally and sincere. The omitted context is critical as it demonstrates that each subsequent message in the exchange was similarly intended as sarcasm, including Nathan's statement, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." Further review of the text message exchange, also excluded from both Lively's CRD complaint and the Times article, unequivocally shows that Abel and Nathan were engaging in a sarcastic and joking manner, as evidenced by the use of the ha-ha tap-back reaction. When read in full, the exchange reveals Nathan and Abel engaging in factitious wry banter, bordering on gallows humor in response to their predicament, not conspiring against Lively, and in turn the Times misrepresented these communications to support her salacious and unfounded smear campaign narrative. This calculated distortion underscores Lively's duplicity. Any negative press about Lively was unequivocally a consequence of her own actions. Even the Times itself acknowledged Lively's public missteps in an August 17, 2024 article entitled, "It Ends With Us." The press tour drama explained. In it, reporter Shivani Gonzalez observed Lively's promotion of the movie has included a push for her new hair care line, discussion of the clothes in the movie, and response to questions about abuse which have been criticized as shallow and tone-deaf. Baldoni, by contrast, has emphasized the importance of raising awareness of domestic violence and providing resources for those in similar situations. Completely unsolicited story from TMZ. Blake has a huge ego. JB was liked by many cast and crew, and this is her ego being bruised, etc. The post has a similar tip. No, not from any of us by the way. Okay. Reporter says Blake Lively's little bump taunt felt like a bullet. LMAO, we interviewed her too. Let me find it. The interview effed her. When and what the F? Why am I in this too? You're a starlet. F. This week, how was the stunt? As noted elsewhere herein, Lively's marketing efforts, which included encouraging audiences to grab your friends and wear your florals while promoting her hair care and alcohol brands, were widely criticized as insensitive. This was particularly glaring given the well-known links between domestic violence and alcohol consumption. Her actions naturally triggered organic public criticism and unleashed a cycle of negative coverage, including, as is common in the digital age, the resurfacing of old, unflattering content. The movie, I believe, is out now. It's out either on Netflix or HBO. I don't know. It's out on one of them. We saw it one night. Nobody wanted to watch it. Well, I shouldn't say nobody wanted to watch it. Some wanted to watch it. Some didn't. Hold on a minute. Linda, I'm getting a cracker. Hold on a minute. I'm sorry. I need a cracker right now. Am I a game? No. Okay, we didn't tell Jed to go after the idea that her promo was inappropriate. That happened organically. Because people saw the actual movie and were like, wait, this is a movie about domestic violence? That they wore florals too? Zoe sent me this on Saturday and goes, this is a crazy way to market this movie. Like, come on, we had nothing to do with that. Far from being the product of a calculated smear campaign by the plaintiffs, the backlash against Lively was the inevitable fallout of her own mercenary messaging and self-promotional tactics, amplified by her inability to read the room in addressing such a serious subject. You do, right? Look at Harmony. I want to watch it, Carolyn. I know. This is not us, correct? Assuming the guy brought in would never do this. Okay, Blake Lively, deals on my website, link to my TikTok, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Blake Lively, the contemporaneous communications of plaintiffs showing a growing awareness that they were being set up to be blamed for Lively's disastrous missteps. Blake Lively, fearing for her career amidst it ends with us backlash. I'm so over this. I'm sure Leslie thinks we placed this one as well. Yep, and same. We are told cast and crew find Justin a nice guy. Don't take as harsh of sides behind the scenes as it being reported. At this point, we're told it's being milked for publicity. Justin's over it. It really was creative differences between Blake and Justin, but wasn't nearly as bad as being reported. Blake has a huge ego. It's the reporting. I'm in a hurricane in PR. Oh, are you okay? Yes, and I just ate a poke bowl. I'd be so ill. Do you have sources? Blake Lively's camp keeps thinking it's us and placing, and we are doing F all. Yes, on production. There had a producer working overtime and spoke to people. On production in the Post. Wait, till I tell you the whole story. We are legit saying source says it's all Blake's ego. You have no idea. You think you do. You do not. In my whole career, I've never come across this situation. But why aren't people saying the real story if known? Can I call you back? Good morning. Sharing with you a perfect example of why we don't use bots. I wouldn't even worry to think they hired a team.
has nothing to find. They hired an awful team, which I've sent to our guy to track and pull, so we have evidence here. The below should be an answer to everyone's question what a bot team looks like when every single comment suddenly skews in her favor in a nonsensical way. At least sprinkle them in. She needs to fire her bot team. How can we say somehow that we are not doing any of this? It looks like we are trying to take her down. It doesn't. They are doing all of this themselves, and it's really obvious. This is bots. They're liking City, Leslie Sohn. Good for you. I know you are friends with Melissa. Yeah, we are. I am not paid to take people down. I'm honest. She hasn't done anything literally anti-Blake. KK. She told me the same thing. She told me she said that Blake's backlash is organic. It's not. She did nothing but help get a movie, make tons of money. Justin makes tons. She was kind of off promoting it as she was Barbie. As if she was Barbie. It's just based on those things that she said directly. Okay, please monitor. Things I'm worried about is that we are planting these stories, which is not true, obviously. Climbing in here, the people saying that there are bots, and this is a PR play on your side, is a minority voice compared to the thousands and thousands who are calling it what it is and reacting to Blake's own actions and interviews. We never want the action of the minority to dictate what we do on our end. We have always looked at the big picture, which is still enormously on your side, but I do not see a wanted need from fans to move on. People are now commenting that they are bored with the many articles still coming out about this drama. When we move on, they do too. So we need to find ways to keep elevating not just the DV reaction, but also the other things in your life, like family, being back home, and Wayfarer. They are not tone deaf, and that's not tone deaf in my opinion, but sends the message as you are focusing on what really matters, and that's what will help with the Blake narrative too, my point of view. While they became increasingly concerned at the finger pointing aimed their way, plaintiffs still found the time to be gracious around the few media wins Lively could tally. So glad Blake was praised. Let her get a win. It would be nice to have a Sony executive praise Justin. Plainly, defendants had thousands of text messages and communications, and they had all the pieces to put together what really happened, and they would not even have to search particularly hard to do so. They chose not to because that did not serve the goal of tarnishing the plaintiffs in the ultimate power play by wealthy celebrities who have not heard the word no for decades. Oh, and Julianne Gonzalez, thank you for your generous donation to the legal fund. That was really nice. Thank you. Much appreciated. At bottom, the case is a simple one. Lively used her power to steal a movie from its director and production studio. Then she held them hostage to her incessant demands by extortionate threats to destroy what they had left. All the while, she failed to understand the heart and soul of the movie she stole and the book it was based on, let alone the intensely personal impact the book had on millions worldwide, while her thoughtless promotions fell flat because they focused on flowery glamour and cross-merchandising opportunities for her own brands rather than on centering the voices of survivors. She finally got a taste of accountability, and she did not care for it. She made one final demand to the plaintiffs, and they finally and forever fell on the sword for her by apologizing for things they had not done, killing their future prospects in the process. When they refused, defendants' gloves came off, and they used their power and resources to try to take the plaintiffs down for good by coordinating with Jones and Sloan, master practitioners of the dark arts of public relations, in an intricately planned character assassination plot. They nearly pulled it off. Defendants have cost plaintiffs their film, their reputations, their future prospects, even their talent agency. It is time to rebalance the scales. Plaintiff Wayfarer Studios, LLC,
is, and at all relevant times herein was, a Delaware limited liability company with its principal place of business in Los Angeles, California. None of Wayfarer's members are citizens of New York. All of Wayfarer's members are citizens of California. Plaintiff Justin Baldoni is, and at all relevant times herein was, an individual residing in the county of Los Angeles, California. Okay, this is where everybody resigned. We don't need that jurisdiction. First cause of action. Civil extortion against Lively, Reynolds, Sloan, and Vision. Plaintiffs hereby repeat, reiterate, reallege, and incorporate by reference each and every allegation of the complaint as it set forth fully herein. Defendants make threats to plaintiffs that they knew to be wrongful, including threats to breach contracts and defame the plaintiffs and injure. Defendants' threats included demands that money, property, services, and/or sources of value be conferred upon them. Defendants, without consideration or contractual entitlement thereto, plaintiffs complied with the wrongful demands. Plaintiffs were harmed. Defendants' wrongful threats and demands were a substantial factor in causing the plaintiffs harm. Upon information and belief, each of the defendants were aware that the others planned to commit the tort of extortion against the plaintiffs, and that each of the defendants agreed with one another and included that the wrongful acts pleaded herein be committed. Additionally, each of the defendants is equally liable to plaintiffs for the tort of extortion by reason of their conspiracy to commit the tort. Defendants have engaged in the above alleged conduct with oppression, fraud, and malice. Accordingly, plaintiffs are entitled to an award of punitive and exemplary damages in an amount to be proved at trial. Second cause of action, defamation. Against Lively, Reynolds, Shane, and Vision. Plaintiffs hereby repeat, reiterate, reallege, and incorporate by reference each and every allegation of the complaint as if set forth fully herein. Defendants made one or more statements to persons other than the plaintiffs, including, without limitation, to the New York Times, to the effect the plaintiffs engaged in, permitted, and or failed to prevent sexually inappropriate conduct towards Lively and others, and that the plaintiffs retaliated against Lively and others for reporting that alleged sexual misconduct, including by propagating false and misleading narratives about Lively for the purpose of damaging her image and reputation. The persons to whom defendants made these statements reasonably understood that the statements were made about the plaintiffs. The statements made by the defendants were intended to and did have the effect of exposing plaintiffs to hatred, contempt, ridicule, obloquy, or of having them to be shunned or avoided, or having a tendency to injure them in occupations. Specifically, the persons to whom the defendants made the statements reasonably understood the statements to mean that the plaintiffs engaged in, permitted, and or failed to prevent sexual inappropriate conduct towards Lively and others, and that the plaintiffs retaliated against Lively and others for reporting the alleged sexual misconduct, including by propagating false and misleading narratives about Lively for the purpose of damaging her image and reputation. The statements made by the defendants about the plaintiffs were false. Furthermore, the defendants knew the statements were false, or they had serious doubts about the truth of the statements. Defendants' false statements about the plaintiffs to third parties were a substantial factor in causing harm to the plaintiff's property, business, trade, profession, and or occupation. Expensive. Plaintiffs had to pay as a result of the defamatory statements harm to plaintiffs' reputations with respect to Baldoni and Heath's shame, mortification, and her feelings. Upon information and belief, each of the defendants were aware that the others
planned to commit the tort of defamation against plaintiffs, and that each of the defendants agreed with one another and intended that the wrongful acts placed herein be committed accordingly. Each of the defendants is equally liable to plaintiffs for the tort of defamation by reason of their conspiracy to commit the tort. Defendants have engaged in the above alleged conduct with oppression, fraud, and malice. Accordingly, plaintiffs are entitled to an award of punitive and exemplary damages in an amount to be proved at trial. Third cause of action: false light, invasion of privacy. Plaintiffs Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel hereby repeat, reiterate, reallege, and incorporate by reference each and every allegation of this complaint as it is set forth fully herein. As alleged herein above, defendants Lively, Reynolds, Sloan, and Vision publicly disclosed information or material regarding the plaintiffs Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel's professional decisions, moral character, private life, and family, which showed Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel in a false light. The false light created by the disclosures of the defendants would be highly offensive and objectionable to a reasonable person in the plaintiff's position, in that it made Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel the objects of scorn, pity, ridicule, humiliation, and other suffering. These defendants knew the public disclosures would create a false impression about Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel, or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. As a direct and proximate result of the said publicity and false misleading disclosures, Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel sustained harm, including to their business and professions as well as their reputations. Further, Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel had suffered and continued to suffer from grief and anxiety as a result of the wanton destruction of their public reputations and characters. As a further direct and proximate result of the said disclosures, plaintiffs Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel have suffered loss of income and interference with future income. Hi, Gail. How are you? Thanks for coming in. The conduct of defendants described herein was a substantial factor in causing the plaintiffs Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel's harm, and constituted a serious invasion of their rights to privacy, and was an egregious breach of social norms that shocks the conscience. Upon information and belief, each of the defendants were aware that the others planned to commit the tort of false light, invasion of privacy against the plaintiffs Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel, and that each of the defendants agreed with one another and intended that the wrongful acts pleaded herein be committed. Accordingly, each of the defendants is equally liable to the plaintiffs Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel for the tort of false light and invasion of privacy by reason of their conspiracy to commit the tort. Defendants have engaged in an above alleged conduct with oppression, fraud, and malice. Accordingly, plaintiffs Baldoni, Heath, Nathan, and Abel are entitled to an award of punitive and exemplary damages in an amount to be proved at trial. Fourth cause of action: breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing against Lively. Good night, One-Eye Blind Art. You have a great night. You got to contact me if you want to get that stuff done and sent to Carol or whatever. You need to get together with me, right? Or do you got to let me know what's going on. Plaintiffs hereby repeat, reiterate, reallege, and incorporate by reference each and every allegation of the complaint as it's set forth herein. Lively and plaintiffs entered into a contract by which Lively agreed to perform as an actor in the film It Ends With Us. Okay, let's see. Plaintiffs did all or substantially all of the significant things that the contract required them to do. In the alternative, plaintiffs were excused from having to do these things. All of the conditions required, if any, for Lively's performance had occurred, or in the alternative were excused. Lively engaged in conduct that prevented the plaintiffs from receiving the benefits contemplated under the contract. Specifically, Lively interfered with the production by making repeated threats and demands in order to seize creative control over the production, editing, and the marketing of the film, such that the defendants were deprived of the opportunity to produce, edit, and make a film as contemplated by their contract. By doing so, Lively did not act fairly and in good faith. Plaintiffs were harmed by Lively's conduct. Fifth course of action: intentional interference with contractual relations against Reynolds and Lively. Plaintiffs hereby repeat, reiterate, reallege, and incorporate by reference each and every allegation of the complaint as it's set forth herein. There was a contract between the plaintiffs and William Morris Endeavor. Defendants Lively and Reynolds knew of the contract. Defendants Lively and Reynolds prevented performance of the contract or made performance more expensive or difficult. Specifically, upon information and belief, Lively and Reynolds made threats and or demands to induce WME to cease performing under its contract with the plaintiffs. Defendants Lively and Reynolds intended to disrupt the performance of this contract. In the alternative, knew that the disruption of the performance would certainly or substantially certain to occur. Plaintiffs were harmed. Defendants' conduct was a substantial factor in causing plaintiffs harm. Upon information and belief, each of the defendants, Lively and Reynolds, was aware that the other planned to commit the tort of intentional interference with contractual relations against the plaintiffs, and that each of the aforementioned defendants agreed with one another and intended that the wrongful acts pleaded herein be committed. Accordingly, each of the aforementioned defendants is equally liable to the plaintiffs for the tort of intentional interference with contractual relations by reason of their conspiracy to commit the tort. And all truth seekers, is it complicated, time-consuming, costly, engage in legal proceedings where the evidence... Oh, thank you, Julianne. Defendants Lively and Reynolds have engaged in the above alleged conduct with oppression, fraud, and malice. Accordingly, plaintiffs are entitled to an award of punitive and exemplary damages in an amount to be proved at trial. The sixth cause of action: intentional interference with prospective economic advantage against Reynolds and Lively. The plaintiffs hereby repeat, reiterate, reallege, and incorporate by reference each and every allegation of the complaint as it's set forth fully herein. Plaintiffs and WME were in an economic relationship that probably would have resulted in an economic benefit to the plaintiffs. Defendants Lively and Reynolds knew of this relationship. Defendants Lively and Reynolds engaged in wrongful conduct, specifically by making threats and or demands that WME terminate its economic relationship with the plaintiffs. By engaging in this conduct, the defendants intended to disrupt the relationship, or in the alternative, knew that the disruption of the relationship would certainly or substantially certain to occur. The relationship was disruptive. The plaintiffs were harmed. Defendants' conduct was a substantial factor in causing plaintiffs harm. Upon information and belief, each of the defendants, Lively and Reynolds, was aware that the others planned to commit the tort of intentional interference with prospective economic relations against the plaintiffs, and that each of the aforementioned defendants agreed with one another and intended that the wrongful acts pleaded herein be committed. Accordingly, each of the aforementioned defendants is equally liable to the plaintiffs for the tort of intentional interference with prospective economic relations by reason of their conspiracy to commit the tort. Defendants Lively and Reynolds have engaged in the above alleged conduct with oppression, fraud, and malice. Accordingly, plaintiffs are entitled to an award of punitive and exemplary damages in an amount to be proved at trial. Seventh course of action: negligent interference with prospective economic advantage against Reynolds and Lively. Plaintiffs in WME were in an economic relationship that probably would have resulted in economic benefit to the plaintiffs. Defendants Lively and Reynolds knew of that relationship. Lively and Reynolds knew or should have known that this relationship would be disrupted if they failed to act with reasonable care. Defendants failed to act with reasonable care. Defendants engaged in wrongful conduct by threatening and or making demands that WME sever its economic relationship with the plaintiffs. The relationship was disruptive. Plaintiffs were harmed. Defendants' wrongful conduct was a substantial factor in causing the plaintiffs harm. Prayer for relief. Wherefore the plaintiffs pray for the following relief: for a money judgment representing compensatory damages, including consequential damages, lost wages, earnings, and all other sums of money, together with interest on those amounts, in the amount to be proven at trial, but in no event less than $400 million. For an award of money judgment for mental pain and anguish and severe and serious emotional distress, as applicable, in an amount to be proven in trial, for pre- and post-judgment interest, for punitive damages according to proof, for attorney's fees and costs incurred by the plaintiffs, as applicable, and for such other legal and equitable relief as the court deems appropriate. A demand for a jury trial. Plaintiffs demand a jury trial on all causes of action so triable. And that's the end. So now there's a gag order that Blake Lively and her husband have put out there and all that other stuff. And we'll go through more of that tomorrow. I also have to see if I have an email from some FOIA requests. I've been so busy. But we're going to play the word game. Hold on. Uh-oh. Okay. I easily distracted. Yeah, that's good sums. Very good. Very good. Oh, we just do that one there. And we got it. We're done. There was a mouse in the house, right? Okay, that was good. Okay, I'm going to call it a night now. God bless. Prayers. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Love you guys and take care. We'll see you later. Have a good night. Oh, thank you, Julianne. We'll see you guys later. Love you. God bless.